and Bobcat Arena. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the ACC Tournament. It is all part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And our first game of the night session, the number 2 seed and the number 7 team in the country, the Blue Devils, against the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. If you missed the games this afternoon, here's what's going on. Virginia Tech, the young team, is Seth Greenberg's advanced to meet the number 1 seed North Carolina. The winner of this one meets the winner of our nightcap, the Clemson Tigers, against the Eagles of Boston College. Welcome, everybody. Brad Nessler along with a hard-working Jimmy Dykes. Duke gets ready to play Georgia Tech. Of course, they're coming off the much-anticipated loss to North Carolina, their regular season finale, Jimmy, but they're well rested. It's spring break. We had a chance to spend some time with Mike Krzyzewski in the locker room. He says they're ready not just for this game, but for what's beyond.
Well, they're practicing for a successful run through the ACC tournament and that first and second round game in March. What you love about Duke right now, think about this. They have won their last 17 games in the Queen City. The thing about Duke right now is they could be a 1 or 2 seed. If they lose tonight, they could drop to a 3 seed.
Right.
The importance of that, think about this. Since 1985, the 3 seeds in the NCAA tournament, when you reach the round of 16, they are below 500. You do not want to be a 3 seed if you can be a 1 or a 2.
Georgia Tech knows what it has to do. Win this tournament to get to the NCAA, and they probably played their best basketball game of the whole year last night in their win over Virginia. Let's take a look at our star watch. This guy was a star last night. Anthony Morrow, 18 points for the Yellow Jackets.
Playing with a purpose the last 2 or 3 weeks is Anthony Morrow for Georgia Tech. 44% three-point shooter on the year at 6'5", can stick shots when the defender is in his face. And DeMarcus Nelson, first-team All-Conference, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, maybe the most underrated senior in the college game right now.
Let's take a look at the starting lineups for our matchup tonight. First, for the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech and Paul Hewitt. The backcourt, Mo Miller, the freshman, played very well last night. Anthony Morrow, we talked about him, and DeAndre Bell, a great defender. Up front, Gani Lawal, a freshman, Jeremy Smith, the senior, and a captain. For Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils, here's how it looks. In the backcourt, Greg Paulus runs the show with Henderson and DeMarcus Nelson. And up front, the Rookie of the Year, Kyle Singler, with Lance Thomas. We're getting set for Georgia Tech and Duke. Carl Ravitch will sing you a few bars in the studio. But right now, Opera Steve gets us ready for tip-off from Charlotte.
Georgia Tech, Yellow Jackets. Duke.
Was that you? Yeah, did you hear
Nice
like that?
job. Nice
singing
job.
underneath that?
Very smooth.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pride myself on my smoothness. Georgia Tech and Duke, of course, comes up in just a couple of minutes. Happy to have Tom Brennan and Doug Gottlieb around. Don't forget, folks, to put it all in perspective a little bit later after the Clemson-BC game. You'll see a full edition of Game Night. To the game that did happen today earlier, if you didn't see it, ACC action, North Carolina and Florida State. It's easy to get caught up in Tyler Hansbrough mania, but there were a lot of other contributors in this game. The Seminoles were held to only 7 points off the bench there. Defense, Carolina seems to be improving. We saw them play well against Duke. That's going to be big in the NCAA tournament.
Now's when you want to start to be going up. Obviously, this is the time of the season where you want to be playing your best ball.
Fourth on the UNC all-time scoring list is Hansbrough, who now has 2,023 for his career. His numbers being retired. Lawson seems to be getting healthier, although not 100%.
Not 100% yet. And I think if he gets that explosion back in the next week, they'll be fine, poised for run. If he doesn't, they're just not the same basketball.
Absolutely.
All right, 82-70. Miami and Vatech. Virginia Tech lost at home to Miami earlier. Is that Gottlieb range?
No, that was
deuced.
What was he thinking? You have to ask yourself, what was that guy thinking?
When the shot clock was running down.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he was thinking.
Good thinking, too. Vassallo to Malcolm Delaney. And when the shot clock gets down to 1, you just throw it up. Hokies up 7. Delaney, Deron Washington kicked me in the teeth as the Hokies got up by 14 and win.
This is the team that's played 6 freshmen, nearly beat Butler, but had a pretty disappointing non-conference run. They've gotten it going late. They swept Maryland. They've hopped onto the bubble, but look, it comes down to a one-game situation. I think the U is in based on their out-of-conference performance, record against the top 50, and their win last night. I think Miami's in, but for Vatech, you have to win one more game. You beat Carolina, you're absolutely in. If not, probably out.
And they made clutch shots today, and they need to do that again tomorrow.
They sure did. All right, Ohio State and Michigan State. Speaking of clutch shots, Ohio State is down 30-27.
Watch steal here. I'm sorry, I think we're doing...
Flowers first with the steal. I'm sorry, in the Michigan-Wisconsin game. Flowers stepped in. It was 10-0 early with 5 different guys scoring and just good passing and good cutting.
And the reason we're not seeing Michigan baskets is because they didn't make them.
Yeah, we apologize for those Michigan fans who had to watch their offensive performance. I promise it will get better.
Understand, in the game, Michigan had 4 2-point baskets. 4 the whole game.
Is that bad?
It's awful.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so Wisconsin beat Michigan, and Michigan State went on to beat Ohio State in their game. Joe Lenardi has come up, and this changes like every second.
Yeah.
He's come up with his last 4 out and his last 4 in. You almost wanted to expand it so you can remember who 5, 6, 7, and 8 are, but here's your last 4 in.
Well, I think it's obvious the Pac-10 teams are going to get in. Arizona obviously above this list. They're now a lock. St. Joe's playing Xavier. They win, they're in. They lose, they probably fall behind UMass. Now, UMass lost last night, so they can't help themselves. So now it comes up against the last 4 out, or can somebody else jump up and steal a bid?
And I got no problem with who's going in, except for the fact I just don't understand how Arizona's in that field. I really don't.
How about the last 4 out? VCU, Dayton, Villanova, and Temple. Hey, I mean, Arizona's a hard sell. It's just a hard sell.
They played a great schedule.
Doug,
okay?
their record is terrible. They didn't beat
What do you mean?
good teams.
What do you mean they didn't beat good teams?
I watched them in games that they didn't even compete against. That UCLA game, they embarrassed themselves.
Last night
They
they got
embarrassed themselves.
5 and 7 in their last 12. They get in.
Boys, look at the numbers.
Be surprised.
What are they, 19 and 14? Tennessee and South Carolina. This one was a seesaw battle as Carolina wouldn't go anywhere. The Smiths were brutal for Tennessee. Tyler Smith played huge. Here, another basket underneath, and South Carolina was up 87-86. The frustrating part of this game, after we watched Lofton hit a 3, was South Carolina had the ball underneath the Tennessee basket with 1.1 seconds to go and never get a shot up. Didn't free anybody up even for a shot. You want to give credit to the defense. That's great, but the guy had a chance to
Made the
tie him
wrong
up.
pass. They're a bad team. It's just in. You're a bad team. There's a reason you're a bad team. There's a reason your coach was asked to resign.
All right.
You're a bad team. That's what happens. Bad teams find ways to lose games.
I would like to see a little end-of-game execution, just a chance. Just get the ball up. You wanted to see a 3.
I did. You lose by 33 the last time you play them. Now you got a chance to go for the win. Let it out. Send it in.
Duke and Georgia Tech, both these guys like Duke. And again, game night will follow Clemson and Boston College. The action's been great. Thanks to Tom for hanging in all day. Scott Reese will take my replacement. Will take my place the rest of the night. Enjoy the tip.
All right, Carl, and championship week continues, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods from Charlotte Bobcat Arena. Beautiful day in Charlotte again today. The souvenirs are all piled up. They'll sell a lot of Duke merchandise in Georgia Tech in game 1 tonight, or they already have. That's our matchup as we get set for the Yellow Jackets and the Duke Blue Devils. Before we tip it, let's check in third member of our team, Janine Edwards. Janine?
Well, Brad, for Georgia Tech's Jeremy Smith, it's all about purity of mind this weekend. And the only thing that exists is within these lines. They don't think about, oh, it's Duke. They don't hear the pregame festivities. They don't see the Jumbotron. He said it's just the 5 of us versus everyone and everything else in this arena. Smith knows that mental clarity is helping the Jackets, and himself for that matter, finish strong this season. Well, the rest of that season now hinges upon keeping the focus inside the lines. Brad?
Jeremis was one of 7 players for Paul Hewitt last night with 8 or more points. He and Anthony Morrow each had 18. Georgia Tech 5 and 7 in ACC tournament play. They were the ACC champions in 85, 90, and 93. Runners-up in 86, 96, and 05. And that 05 was a loss to Duke. Jamie Luckey, Mike Eads, Ray Natili, our officials. Gotti Lawal's going to jump it with Gerald Henderson, and here we go in the first game of 2 tonight from Charlotte.
And Brad, to follow up what Janine said, I asked Coach K in the locker room, what concerns you the most about Georgia Tech? He said Jeremy Smith. That's a senior along with Anthony Morrow that is playing with great purpose, great passion, and great intensity. He said, I have a ton of respect right now for 32 in that Vegas gold uniform.
And he called Georgia Tech the most physical team in the Atlantic Coast Conference, which is saying a lot. Jeremy Smith part of that. He's the muscle down low. Here he is, guarded by Lance Thomas, and out of control and walking with it on the baseline. Well, the first time around was February 27th at Cameron, and it was 71-58. Georgia Tech did not shoot well. They didn't shoot a free throw until there were 9.5 minutes to play, and they had 20 turnovers. Not a good combination.
No, the pressure, the perimeter pressure of Duke got Georgia Tech playing too fast in that ball game. That's why they had the 20 turnovers. Georgia Tech cannot have that kind of number tonight and win this ball game.
Singler got by everybody, and charging foul as Anthony Morrow held his ground, and Singler's got 2 early. Mike is going to have to go to his bench right now.
Boy, that's big. Singler over-penetrates because he had a pretty good 6 or 7 foot angle of the board basket opportunity, but he takes one extra bounce and one extra step, and now he's going to have to sit probably for the remaining 19:29 of the first half. That is huge.
In 31 seconds. I know Brian Zubik expected to play quite a bit tonight, not in the first 30 seconds, I don't think. Here's DeAndre Bell, picked up by Zubik, all the way in, leaves it for Smith.
And he just attacked Zubek, didn't he? When Zubek came out to help as the shadow defender, DeAndre Bell said, I'll go right around you, big fella.
Here's Greg Paulus running the show. Over 100 assists again this year. Third-team All-ACC performer. Anthony Morrow falls down. Henderson's got a free look, but he kicks it out to DeMarcus Nelson on the baseline. Nice pass to Lance Thomas.
They get their drive and penetrate and pitch game going, Duke. That's when they're at their best, but it's all fueled by their ability to knock down threes.
Smith on the outside. Georgia Tech, 2 freshmen in their lineup. Their point guard and their big man, Gani Lawal, underneath. And a collision between 2 Yellow Jackets. The whole hive just broke down, and Smith had to take a shot because of it. They were playing 3-on-5. Henderson all the way, and Duke leads.
We've seen Georgia Tech 5-6 times this year, and sometimes their transition defense is not exactly what you want. Against Duke, it has to be solid for 40 minutes because they attack you at every opportunity.
The pick and roll, there was a pick and no roll, and DeAndre Bell's tied up by Zubek, and it's going Duke's way.
DeMarcus Nelson has done so much for this ball club this year. Has scored, has defended his tail off, gets others involved. Just a great read to know that the weak side defense didn't rotate down, so I'll get my buddy on the weak side. And there's what I'm talking about with Duke. Because of now, all 4 guys on the floor, with the exception of Zubek, can finish in transition in the sprint. Georgia Tech still, their transition defense has to be an A+ in this ball game.
Here's Zubek, 7-1 of it. Getting the pass down low. Way up is Thomas for the rebound, and the ball hit underneath the basket. Last touch by Duke and out of bounds to Georgia Tech.
And Brad Zubek has not gotten a lot of time in his couple of years on that campus, but you remember he was an All-American, playing the Jordan Brown All-Star game, one of 8 former All-Americans that Duke can put on the floor, and he's an important guy because of his size at 7'1", not only in this tournament, but how deep will they go might depend on how many good minutes this big cat can produce for him.
And Coach Krzyzewski told us in the locker room before the game that he expects him to play more and more minutes, but as I said, not at the 19:30 mark of the first half. DeAndre Bell's going to bring it up again. Anthony Morrow for 3. Got it. Playing in his hometown of Charlotte, and knocks down the 3. And he had 6 of them last night.
Grandma must still be praying.
She's still praying over there. His grandma's in the crowd. Janine told us last night she prays for those 3s to fall. Jeremy Smith almost had to steal. Ball still loose. Now it's Paulus, pull-up triple. And the rebound off to Thomas. Straight back up is Paulus again. And now Henderson keeps it alive. Duke's going to get a 3rd try at least. Maybe 4. And 4 it is. Wow. That's some offensive rebounding. Some of it was just strength. Some of it was the strange carom of the ball. But Duke finally makes it pay, and they lead 6-5.
Everyone except Paulus was involved on the offensive glass for Duke, so they're sending 4 early to the O glass. Georgia Tech's going to have an answer for it.
DeAndre Bell comes down, and he has the quick answer. Bell had some quick points last night. He had 9 points, 3 rebounds, a couple of assists. Here's DeMarcus Nelson, the kick out. Paulus is going to keep trying the 3 till he gets it right.
I think he's the best shooting point guard that Coach K has had at Duke as far as just spotting up and knocking down 3s.
Gani Lawal, tough shot. Jeremy Smith trying to follow, and he's fouled by Henderson.
Coach K obviously saw something that he did not like, because about 2 possessions ago, watch what happened. He glanced down the bench and said, troops, change of guards, and here they come. Taylor King and Nelson and Shire and Nolan Smith, different guys now getting ready to check in.
Well, they play hockey in here, and he's about ready to change lines right now.
And if Singler hadn't have already saddled with 2 fouls, it would have been 5 coming in for 5, because he saw something that he does not like how the guy's on the floor right now.
Here they come. Mass substitution. Jeremy Smith at the free throw line. Did a great job from the stripe last night. We talked about how he's improved his free throw shooting over the past year, up to 65%, way above what he used to be.
It could be partially something that Coach K saw that he wasn't crazy about, and it also could be partially just like Roy Williams did for North Carolina, going to go into his bench in this ACC tournament with all the amount of minutes they're going to have to pile up here in the next three games.
Here's the drive inside by Shire, and he's going to the free throw line as well. He's going to the bench first because we got a timeout. So the reserves come in, they do their job, the fans appreciate it. And Duke with a 3-point advantage. They can add to it after the timeout. Shire in close. Duke 11-8 on Georgia Tech.
That's what you do, representing the ACC.
I will break the home run record because I worked hard for it.
I will lead my team and win the World Cup. Together, we can do anything.
I will win the championship. Winning is my motivation.
The gold medal is mine. Desire is in my blood.
Go ahead. Cut corners.
Forget team.
For me, there is no easy way out.
I'll win with my heart.
Heart.
My heart.
Our hearts.
Building sportsmanship and dreams for 60 years. Every season starts at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Miss Davis, this is OnStar. I've received a signal you've been in a crash. I'm contacting emergency services.
OnStar reporting a front-end crash on Wakefield Road.
Ship Malibu, airbags deployed, injuries reported. Please respond.
Ma'am, help is on the way. And I'll stay on the line with you till they get there.
Automatic crash response, built into 11 Chevy models.
Most brewers have a dash of hops.
We use a pound of hops per barrel.
We add some caramel malt to that.
Samuel Adams Lager is a full-bodied, complex beer.
But everything is there in balance.
We haven't deviated from the recipe because it works. It's a great beer.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Drive it forever.
ABC, your NBA Sunday destination. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by OnStar by GM. To learn more, visit OnStar.com.
This ESPN2 telecast is available in spectacular high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Olivia. Duke out in front 11-8. They have won 7 of the last 9 ACC tournaments. Off to a 3-point lead for Mike Krzyzewski right now. In our Subway Fresh Fact, not only have they won 7 of the last 9 ACC tournaments, but they have won the last 3 ACC tournaments held in this city. 99, 2000, and 2002. That was at the old Charlotte Coliseum. This is in the brand new Bobcat Arena. This is the first time this venue has hosted the ACC tournament. It's a gorgeous facility, and it's been our home since basically about Wednesday, and will be all the way through the weekend. Here's John Shire at the free throw line, coming off the bench, one of the great 6th men in college basketball, if you will, and he caps off the 3-point play that he started before the timeout.
Brad, against Duke, you have to get into their 3rd and 4th pass defense. If you can score. They are 10th in the ACC, allowing 46% from the field. Handle the first few passes, you can get some good looks against them.
Duke with a rebound off the miss by Peacock.
Good job at Georgia Tech, running the defense with a purpose.
Nolan Smith in the lineup as well, draws a double team for Miller and Peacock. Zubek over to Taylor King. The extra pass back to the big guy, and he's fouled underneath by Jeremy Smith, and now Georgia Tech has foul trouble. Let's check in with Janine.
Well, Brad, I know that Coach K from Duke wants to keep his players settled down and in a good rhythm right now, because he said that before that loss to North Carolina on Saturday night, he thinks his team was just too tight, too wound up, too emotional. He said it was senior night. There was just so much going on. He said emotions were running high. The top seed in the tournament was on the line. So he said if there was a magic pill to give his guys to settle them down, he would give it to them. I'm sure that was a major theme of his pregame speech this evening.
Well, that's always the biggest thing going on in either Chapel Hill or Durham, wherever the site may be, for those two matchups, the epic battles every year. North Carolina won at 76-68. Duke actually had the lead in the second half, and then Carolina closed things out. And that's why they're the #1 seed, and Duke's #2. But #2 is leading Georgia Tech, the #7 seed right now, by 6.
Remember, Georgia Tech with 20 turnovers when these two teams met in the regular season. The pressure of Duke is intense. If you can handle it with screening action, fine. If not, you're going to have to do something off of the bounce under control.
Smith cut off by Zubek. They're going to put it up over the big guy anyway, and the rebound's McClure again, who's done a nice job on the boards coming off the Duke bench. Ooh, Zubek just leveled Jeremy Smith. No foul call, and now a battle for the rebound. Anthony Morrow on the held ball is going to give the possession arrow to Georgia Tech. Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, as West Virginia or Georgetown will take on Pitt or Marquette in the championship game. Some great battles already in the Big East tournament, and that'll continue tomorrow.
Well, Georgetown continuing to flex their muscle, aren't they? They just got physical men, even without Hibbert playing well. 17 threes, and now that Chris Wright and Austin Freeman, two freshmen, are given valuable minutes. I love that team's chances to get to San Antonio.
They'll have a whistle and a foul on Smith, trying to fight his way through a screen, ran into Peacock. So Duke has jumped out to a 6-point lead here in the opening 5.5 minutes. Georgia Tech will bring in Holiday Aminu, and they're going to put Jeremy Smith on the bench because he's got 2 fouls, and they can ill afford to have the big guy over there too long, but that might be a good chunk of this first half now for him as well. Matt Causey running the point, didn't score last night, but he did have 5 assists.
I think Aminu and Peacock have to get offensively going for Georgia Tech. If they can expose Duke, it's with those size guys around the rim, and there's a look.
Peacock, a double team, and he had it blocked. Ball still free, tipped. Shire comes out of the pack to Thomas on the break.
Boy, a great tip, wasn't it, by McClure to keep that ball alive, knowing that if I'm going to tip it, I'm going to tip it towards my basket. Just a great hustle play and a big Valentine by 14 and White.
Nolan Smith picks up another foul on the pick in the backcourt.
Well, there you see what Georgia Tech's trying to do, but Peacock got a little early and didn't get his feet underneath him to the power position. Then you see the tip out that I'm talking about. Duke's so good at ripping and running from one end to the other.
This is not so far the Georgia Tech team we saw last night. Not a lot of fluidity in their offense, a lot of dribbling, and not a lot of good looks. There's a pretty good one for Peacock, and he got it. And I think a bench warning to Duke. Mike was seated. Must have been something that was said. He's been through 28 of these things. He kind of gives it the hand like, get out of here.
There was something that triggered that response. Seated or standing, there are some trigger words. And I guess the other
trigger wasn't the word.
Trigger wasn't the word.
It might have been for Roy Rogers. It wasn't for Coach Krzyzewski. Here's McClure on the baseline. Paulus back in the lineup now. 10 on the shot clock for Duke. Shire penetrates. Would have been a tough shot. He did draw a foul.
Shire has really developed that part of his game. No longer coming off the screens thinking shot only. He's coming off the screens, and if the jump shot's not there, instead of thinking pass, I'm going to also explore what I can get off of the bounce. And he's awfully crafty because he's a slender guy, Brad, but he has a good way of getting inside of traffic, protecting the basketball while he gets fouled.
And he almost never misses free throws. #2 free throw shooter in the conference, and he missed one. Duke 26-4, 13-3 coming in. 8 of the past 11 seasons, they have 13 or more conference wins. Is that phenomenal?
Well, think about this. The remaining 11 ACC teams have won 13 games in ACC play a combined 14 times. That really puts that number in perspective.
Thank you, partner. You did. 13 minutes remaining first half. Duke by 7. Lewis clinched in the paint. Left hand look. That's not his money shot, that's for sure. And DeMarcus Nelson will bring it down for Duke. Gets it back, got an open 3, and got it. Nelson, first team All-ACC performer, knocks it down, and Paul Hewitt's seen enough. 10-point Georgia Tech lead. Duke 20, Georgia Tech 10.
Red Bull Food Tug. To enter your human-powered flying machine, go to redbullusa.com.
Duke's got Georgia Tech doubled right now. Jimmy, 20-10, 12:48 to go first half.
Duke really understands how to get themselves open on the perimeter. Watch DeMarcus Nelson drive this basketball. Now hold it right here, guys. Watch what he does. Instead of just kind of wasting time, he's going to pop straight back out, knowing that is our MO. Look at the pop, the drive, the pop, the catch, the release. That is Duke at its finest moment right there. All because of DeMarcus Nelson, Brad, knows how to get himself open.
He got the 3, and he's got 3 assists as well. Causey now through traffic. Pull-up jumper for Causey. Shorts. Paulus pulls down the miss. Duke on an 11-2 run since that mass substitution, although most of those guys have taken a seat again, with the exception of Shire. And a hold down low is going to be on Causey. Picks up his first. Georgia Tech will bring Smith, Morrow, and Miller, 3 starters, back in.
Very few weeks ago when Duke had those back-to-back losses, Coach K didn't panic. He was very good with his kids, talking to them, asking them, what do you think? What do you feel right now? What are you seeing out there on the court? So he trusts his kids' judgment, and what came out of those conversations, we allowed 91 points in those losses combined. Defensively, their pressure has really gotten back because of it.
How nice a luxury would it be to have a guy like John Shire coming off your bench? He's got 6 points, and the lead swells to 12.
He and Danny Green from North Carolina, Sharon Collins at Kansas. Those are guys in the NCAA tournament that can come in as the 6th man and be a game changer. There's only a handful of them.
Here's Maurice Miller playing in his first ACC tournament. The freshman point guard. Paulus on him, 7 on the shot clock. He's going to force one up there, and he's going to get free throws out of it. Paulus picks up his first foul. John Shire right now leading the way along with Lance Thomas. Each has 6 for Duke, and they got a big lead with 11:42 to go in the half.
Miss Davis, this is OnStar. I've received a signal you've been in a crash. I'm contacting emergency services.
OnStar reporting a front-end crash on Wakefield Road.
Airbags deployed. Injuries reported. Please respond.
Ma'am, help is on the way. And I'll stay on the line with you till they get there.
Automatic crash response, built into 11 Chevy models.
For 11 days in March, there are no second chances.
Attack that rim with a purpose. For the win!
Now, experience Championship Week in a whole new way on an award-winning Olivia HD TV. The perfect combination. Go to ESPN.com, search Olivia to find out more. Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 6th through the 16th on ESPN HD and ESPN2 HD. Brought to you by Olivia.
Safeco Field, beautiful day. They're already jamming in here.
There you go, enjoy.
Backhanded by Lopez. My, oh my, what a play! Get out of here! Home run! The Sarah crowd.
FSM is taking you out to the ball game. Every ball game. Starting this season, Mariners baseball is exclusively on FSM and FSM HD. Every game, all HD, only FSM.
Your small business team. The finesse player. The enforcer. The miracle worker. Don't these hope weavers deserve the best tools in the business? Comcast Business Class offers digital voice, high-speed internet, and TV. The same tools as the big guys for your guys. Power to the business people. Comcast Business Class. Turn your office on.
Call now to get Comcast Business Class voice, internet, and TV for $99 a month.
Scott Reese in the studio with your Sports Center right now. Suspensions and fines handed down from the brouhaha with the Yankees and the Rays. Shelley Duncan, Melky Cabrera, 3 games apiece. Johnny Gomes of Tampa suspended for 2 games. Yanks manager Joe Girardi was fined, not suspended. ACC action earlier today. North Carolina victorious, as was Virginia Tech. So those two will square off tomorrow in the semifinals. Sports Center 11 Eastern. Stay current with ESPN News. Scott.
Hi, Scott. I would just spike somebody in an exhibition baseball game. Get that.
I don't either.
22-10 Duke leads here in the ACC quarterfinal. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. For Jimmy Dykes and Janine Edwards, I'm Brad Nessler. Georgia Tech in a big hole already. Here's Maurice Miller and what he did in round 1. He had a great game last night in his first ACC tournament game ever. Didn't show any nerves at all tonight. That's his first point. Had 4 threes last night as well.
Duke has done a great job of eliminating one of the strengths of Georgia Tech, and that's rebounding the basketball. Duke with an 11-2 advantage first 8+ minutes of this game.
Well, they had about 4 on that one possession, didn't they? They had 4 or 5 tries at it.
That certainly helped.
Duke by 10. Paulus, Nelson, Zubek has got the ball right now. Lance Thomas and Shire on the floor for Duke. Paulus trying to feed inside. Thomas trying to get around Aminu. Too long of arms. And now the battle for the rebound is going to be Duke's on the possession arrow. 3rd time we've had a possession arrow already in the first 8.5 minutes. Georgia Tech 15-16. They went 7-9 in the ACC this year. They started off hot and they have cooled off. Last night they started hot and they pretty much stayed that way for Paul Hewitt. I mentioned they had 5 guys in double figures and 7 players with 8 or more points.
No change of possession, so the shot clock's at 11 and Duke goes to a quick hitter and it works.
How about that shot? Great feed, and Shire hung in the air long enough to go up and under.
If Georgia Tech can't have some success going by those guys with all the pressure on the perimeter, Duke is going to continue to check the breath of Georgia Tech. Now that's another good pressure release right there.
That was a very good pass by Aminu to Anthony Morrow. Georgia Tech's 2 big guys right now, Aminu and Jeremy Smith. Yanni Lawal, the freshman, set to check back in. Shire needs some help. Paulus, pull-up jumper. And up and over the backboard.
The shot clock at 11 on a bob, a baseline out of bounds for Duke. They just run circle cuts, multiple circle cuts, and usually it's the second guy. This time it's Shire following the clear-out trail of DeMarcus Nelson. So the second guy becomes your primary weapon, and Duke made him pay.
Shire had 6 points against Georgia Tech in the regular season matchup. He's already got 8 in the first 9.5 minutes of this tournament game.
Almost like Nelson was the fullback and the halfback was the guy that eventually had the football, you know?
Exactly.
Clearing out traffic.
Second man through.
Yep. This is what Georgia Tech has to have some success. Driving the basketball, didn't see a lot of contact, saw a lot of hand on the ball. But unless Paul Hewitt's club can go by those Duke guards, then it's going to be a long evening because Duke will continue to just climb up and climb up and climb up. And eventually, Duke is wearing the same jersey you are.
Maurice Miller out of Memphis has been the point guard for most, starting point guard for most of the second half of the season, although Matt Causey has done it at times too, and that was a sore spot for Georgia Tech. They couldn't find the right combination. Miller's really matured, though. He's still a freshman, but none of these guys are freshmen anymore when you hit March, and he's played a lot better in the second half of the season. Got them both. Georgia Tech gets it back to single digits. McClure on the drive. To bring it back out on top to Paulus.
Duke has been so perimeter oriented all year. Now with Zubek back getting a lot of minutes, they at times need to slow down and wait for the big post guy to get exposed.
Nice drive by DeMarcus Nelson, and he uses a left hand off the glass at the finish. 5 for Nelson.
Left hand and broad shoulders really cleared out a space for him to get that shot off.
Georgia Tech wants a timeout. Paul Hewitt frustrated right now as Duke's got a 10-point lead. Marcus Nelson, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year and a first-team All-ACC performer. Nice drive there with the left hand. And, you know, we were talking to Coach Krzyzewski before the game. I said, Mike, I got to be honest with you. I didn't think 4 years ago DeMarcus Nelson was going to be a first-team All-ACC performer. And Mike was telling us, you know, he went through injury problems with the leg problems first, and then he had wrist surgery in this past offseason. There's a kid that has just worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. Now he's the captain. He's gotten better every year, and now he's a first-team guy.
And he has embraced being a captain. If you're a captain at Duke or North Carolina, all across the board, UCLA, there are some things that you have to do every day. And whether you're DeMarcus Nelson or Kobe Bryant, as Coach K put it, you have to do those things over and over, and you cannot get bored with being a leader of strength. And right now, that's what DeMarcus Nelson's job is, being a leader of strength. Just like Kobe and the guys will have to lead strength for that Olympic team under Coach K.
Yeah, Coach K's season just starts when the NCAA tournament's over.
How about that?
He's got to work on his Chinese. We're at 9.5 minutes. 10-point game. Anthony Morrow, a lot of dribbling and nothing accomplished. 12 on the shot clock.
Now Miller's going to have to do something off the bounce, and Zubek with a great show right there defensively eliminates it.
The wall, that's not the shot they're looking for at all. Now that was a terrible offensive possession by Georgia Tech. And Paulus pulls up and buries the shot just inside the three-point line. There's a 4-point swing that's pretty ugly for Georgia Tech. Bad shot on one end, Paulus with a perfect one on the other, and now another miss by Miller. The lead goes back to 12 again.
And that quick miss by Miller is just like a turnover, because if you're Georgia Tech, you're spending way too much time on this end of the floor. Right in front of us, Georgia Tech has played 3/4 of this ball game on the defensive end.
And the ball knocked out of bounds. Duke is yet to turn it over. ACC Tournament Semifinals, part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPN tomorrow. 1:30, it's Virginia Tech and North Carolina. Then at 3:30, the winner of this one against the winner of Boston College and Clemson. Those in ACC markets will see ESPN News. Georgia Tech going back to its bench. DeAndre Bell comes back in. And he'll probably be on DeMarcus Nelson because he's Tech's best defender. Although they leave McClure all alone. You talk about confusion. And now the lead swells up to 14. And Georgia Tech with an offensive foul just to add to the misery. Ghani Lawal with the offensive foul.
Duke scoring again off of an inbound play. Watch McClure, just a very simple move. Just kind of a hesitation, then go to the front of the rim. Use a little ball fake, not get in a hurry and score. That's 4 points that Georgia Tech has given up off of the baseline out of bounds.
And Paul just hit himself right in the temple there. That's the way they're playing tonight compared to last night, where they won 94-76 over Virginia.
Well, they can't get their bigs involved in this game, so it's a guard-oriented game, and Duke's guards are better than Georgia Tech's guards every single night.
McClure tried to slam the follow. Peacock clears it out to Clinch. Clinch hit a couple of three-pointers in the second half last night. He had a hard time finding his range from the outside. This time he gets it blocked. It never got there. Miller has it rejected. Back-to-back block shots by Duke, and they come the other way. This could be a killer three. And it goes.
And it was all started by a bad forced shot by Clinch. You have to understand what the score is, what the momentum is, and how good your opponent is. And right now, Georgia Tech, they're struggling with all three areas.
It's all Duke right now. The number 2 seed has more than doubled the number 7 seed. 33-16 Blue Devils.
ACC, 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 ACC.
Boys, this is OnStar. I've received a signal you've been in a crash. I'm contacting emergency services.
OnStar reporting a front-end crash on Wakefield Road.
Chevy Malibu, airbags deployed, injuries reported. Please respond.
Ma'am, help is on the way. And I'll stay on the line with you till they get there.
Automatic crash response, built into 11 Chevy models.
This new KFC toasted wrap is good. Just because it's toasted doesn't mean it's so much better than my snack wrap with ranch. Meg, if you had to choose between
that one. It's not done till it's toasted. Introducing the new KFC toasted wrap for just $1.29. Life tastes better with KFC.
Look at them. You give them the best years of your life, shuttling them around. Then they go away on one vacation without you. And all they can talk about is that Hummer from Avis. I'd like to see that Hummer have to take them to the stupid mall 3 times a day. Actually, I take that back.
With dozens of the hottest cars to choose from, there's a reason Avis is your other car.
ESPN Films presents Black Magic.
What was that, Cadillac?
Clarence Big House Gaines spent nearly half a century coaching with Winston-Salem State, winning 828 games and a national title.
Rotate it! Go!
He was that type of person that exuded confidence in himself and you.
Coaches have come and gone, but Big House was the face of college basketball.
Black Magic debuts March 16th at 9 Eastern on ESPN.
Earl the Pearl Monroe, just part of that 2-day, 4-hour film telling the story of the injustice that characterized the civil rights movement in America, told through the lives of the players and coaches who attended historically black colleges and universities. Coming up on Sunday nights here, 33-16. Duke all over Georgia Tech in the first half. Georgia Tech is scoring a field goal about every 2.5 minutes. That's probably not going to do it, Jimmy.
No, it's not. And again, just look at the pressure right now by Duke, forcing Causey way out top to catch that ball. Pressure now on the top side of your screen from King, all over the floor, and Georgia Tech just cannot handle the heat right now from the Duke Blue Devils.
And Duke's had runs of 7-0, 6-0, and 9-0, and it's 0-0 right now for Georgia Tech. Duke playing beautifully, 13 out of 22.
Look down here, Georgia Tech not able to put any pressure on Duke, and they're just spotting up and draining them.
And now King adds to it. Taylor King for 3. 36-16.
Georgia Tech is caught right now. They're offensive sensitive. Their offense is not clicking, and their defense is letting them down as a result of it. Something you cannot do against quality teams.
Anthony Morrow, tough turnaround jumper, and now 2 guys fighting over it. Got it back out to Causey for 3, and he buried it. Causey's first field goal. Georgia Tech in a hurry to do everything. They're not showing any patience offensively, and Duke is doing anything it wants to right now.
You know what, Brad? That Duke pressure, it makes you start thinking with your feet. And that's not what you want as a basketball player, to think with your feet. And right now, Georgia Tech, they're thinking with their feet, and those aren't high IQ dogs.
They're good-looking shoes, but they're not high IQ.
Georgia Tech try to lock in right now. Get your defense back. There you go. Take a charge.
And that's going to be Smith's 3rd foul, too, taking the charge. So Smith's gotten himself in a whole heap of foul trouble coming off the Duke bench. He'll have to sit. Paulus will come back in. So will DeMarcus Nelson. Henderson sits down with Smith. Duke's been able to run about anybody they want to out there. And the only foul trouble is Nolan Smith with 3. Georgia Tech, Jeremy Smith has had to sit much of this half because he's got 2 fouls. And he's Georgia Tech's muscle on the inside.
Boy, and it was there for Nolan Smith to penetrate. Boom, just a little bounce pass to a teammate. Freshman mistake.
Georgia Tech with Causey, Peacock, Aminu, Bell, and Morrow in the lineup.
They need to get this thing back to a 10-point game before the half if you're Georgia Tech. Slow down on the offensive end just a little bit.
You can't tell this guy to slow down. Just the shot. Aminu trying to keep it alive. Causey will take another one. Still not there. And Paulus holds on for the rebound. Matt Causey's always going to get his money's worth. Might not be the right currency exchange, but he's going to get his money's worth.
Not sure he's the right guy against this Duke pressure right now because they need a stabilizing force, and he's kamikaze.
The foul on Georgia Tech underneath, and it's going to be on Anthony Morrow, his first, as we check in with Janine.
Well, guys, you touched on DeMarcus Nelson a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to add on that. I spoke with him on the phone the other day, and he said he's really been proud of his role as the only senior on the team. He said it's up to me to kind of set the tone, and I think he's taking that responsibility very, very seriously. He said he tries to keep himself and his teammates focused on not just the challenges, but the opportunities, and he said this is a huge opportunity, and we do need to have the right mindset because that's half the battle. And another thing he said that struck me is that we have no dominant national players of the year on this team. He said we don't have big egos, but what we do have is a collective ego, and that's more important.
Yeah, that's always been that way with Duke. Collective ego. That's a good way to put it. There's a slam by Aminu on the other end.
They have to get that position established in this game over the next 5 minutes to have a shot rolling into the second half. That position is that around the rim 8-foot radius, Brad, that Georgia Tech has an advantage if they can ever get to it.
Paulus accidentally dribbled off his foot. The turnover for Duke.
That's a great balance, and look at a guy like Singler, not even on that list right now because of foul problems. That's spreading the wealth, and that is Duke basketball right there. When everyone's involved as a shooter and as a passer and as a finisher in transition, you get that type of balance.
Miller again on the dribble, and it's down to 20 right now on the shot clock. So there went 15 seconds, and Georgia Tech still 40 feet away from the basket. Morrow, though, can do that in a hurry from three-point land.
Trying to get it to 10 or less before the half, and Georgia Tech, I think, would feel good about themselves because they've played poorly up to this point.
8-0 run, Jimmy. Anthony's grandma is up and still praying but cheering at the same time as she watches his second three go here in the first half.
Great job by Morrow to move without the basketball, and DeMarcus Nelson was his defender and got hung up on a pick, and Morrow quickly got to the three-point line for a big three.
258 threes in his Georgia Tech career. Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale as part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPN tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern. West Virginia or Georgetown taking on Pittsburgh or Marquette in the championship game.
I'm going to stay with what I said last night until the brackets come out and you see who has to play through who. I think two teams out of the Big East will eventually be in that Final Four. I'm sticking with Georgetown and Louisville, although Louisville lost yesterday. My other two teams as of tonight would be UCLA and North Carolina. I think those are the strongest teams built for neutral floor success in the game right now.
When you saw that Louisville lost to Pittsburgh, you said, of course, I picked them. I said, hey, they're going to have a lot of time off to rest.
They will.
Don't have to worry about battling through the rest of those guys.
Remember, Rick Pitino said it's the most talented team he's ever had at Louisville. That's a large statement.
Duke has made a large statement in this first half. They lead by 12, but Georgia Tech's last three-pointer at least has put them within range, maybe. DeMarcus Nelson might have gotten away with a traveling violation there. Aminu breaks up. The pass now trying to run down on the other end and rejected by DeMarcus Nelson of all people. Oh boy,
what a hustle play by Nelson. A lot of contact on the shoulder of Aminu, but a terrific don't give up on the play by the captain.
Only his 11th block of the year, and he does it on Georgia Tech's biggest guy. Watch this hustle.
Look how far he comes from Nelson. Boom, right there. Great job of not giving up on the play, and that's if you're the Duke captain, those are the type of hustle effort plays, big Valentine moments that you're supposed to have.
And then Aminu adds to the problem with a foul, and they walk it down the other way. Now Gerald Henderson goes to the free throw line.
Yeah, that's a big play. Georgia Tech got a chance to cut that thing to 10.
You talk about when things go wrong. Misses the free throw. Georgia Tech lets it go out of bounds.
We're looking at in this first half 2 potential 4-point swings. We had one earlier with a Georgia Tech miss, and Duke ran out and got the layup. Now it could happen again.
Approaching the 4-minute mark already in this first half. It's been Duke all the way since the opening basket that was Georgia Tech's. And now DeMarcus Nelson with an offensive foul. So Georgia Tech has an opportunity right here to make it a 10-point game or even get it down to 9 should they hit a 3.
Problem with Anthony Morrow, the number 4 all-time three-point shooter for Georgia Tech. He's being defended by the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, DeMarcus Nelson.
Doesn't help, does it?
Not at all. So Georgia Tech has to really work and set solid screens to get Morrow involved.
DeAndre Bell picked up his dribble. Here is Morrow. That one doesn't go, and the rebound off the weak side is DeMarcus Nelson again.
Great spacing by Duke in their transition. They just run to spots. They fill all 5 spots every time.
That time Georgia Tech ties up DeMarcus Nelson, and they'll have the possession arrow with 3 minutes and 51 seconds remaining. First half from Bobcat Arena. Get out the cash. Duke by 12.
Touchdown!
Honey, can you please check on Grandpa?
You okay, Dad? First down!
I'm getting worried about him. First the door-to-door salesman, now this.
So the old guy thinks he's watching football. I kind of envy him.
Yes! Yes! What a hit!
Catch all the football you've been missing. Watch Russell Athletic ESPN Arena Football Monday at 8 as the Colorado Crush battle the Dallas Desperados on ESPN2.
Most of the people we built the M-Class for will never drive across the desert.
Most people will never need windshield wipers that perform at Autobahn speeds. Most people will never make a mountain rescue.
We'll never need the strength of over 5,000 welds or scale a 70% slope.
But the truth is, some will.
And knowing that, we cannot engineer anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less than a true Mercedes-Benz. Than a true Mercedes-Benz.
Ocho, half cap, latte, chino, mocha, due avec moi. My mouth can't form these words. My mind can't find these words. Is it French or is it Italian? Perhaps Fritalian.
Delicious lattes from Dunkin' Donuts. You order them in English, not for Italian. America runs on Dunkin'.
Honey? I think this might be our lucky day.
I think it might be.
I think this is what we've been waiting for.
I think it is.
Yes! It turned blue!
The Coors Light Cold Activated Bottle. The mountains turn from white to blue when your beer reaches the perfect temperature.
It's blue like your eyes.
My eyes are green.
Only from Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Scott Reese in the studio updating you on the Big 12 tournament, and we've got some things going on as Nebraska tries to take down 5th-ranked Kansas. J.R. Strobridge, nice feed underneath, and the bucket, and we've got ourselves a possible upset in the making as the Huskers lead it by 9. Elsewhere, speaking of upsets, St. Joe's in a game that'll certainly put them into the tournament, 41-30 over Xavier. Brett?
All right, Scott, no upset in the making here. Number 7, Duke, has led pretty much throughout this game, and they're up on Georgia Tech 36-24. Anthony Morrow leading the way for Georgia Tech. DeMarcus Nelson doing a good job on both ends of the floor, rebounding, defending, and also scoring. Georgia Tech, as Jimmy said, they'd love to get it down to single digits before halftime. I think they'd be happy with that, seeing they trailed by 20. They're on an 8-0 run, or had an 8-0 run. See if they can add to it. Peacock, pull-up jumper, got it. Zach Peacock, good outside shooter, and it is in single digits.
And the reason why Duke, last 5 possessions, they've had 4 turnovers. They're scoreless the last 3.5 minutes of this ball game on the offensive end.
All you folks that think I'm a math major, I'm not. It's 10, not single digits quite yet. Here goes Paulus, and now it's definitely not single digits. Greg knocks down his second 3.
Brad, Duke always, when they drive baseline, they always have a shooter spotted up in the opposite corner. You have to take away the baseline drive and the baseline pass.
Peacock for 3. 39-29. Zach Peacock's just been getting better and better this last month and a half of Georgia Tech season.
A critical remaining 2:45 in this first half. I think if Duke goes back out to a 14, 15-point lead, very difficult for Georgia Tech to come back. If they can keep it to 10 or less, they've got a shot.
Shire's fouled on the inside. Let's see who it's going to be on now. It's very important who this foul is called on. It's going to be on Peacock. It's not on Jeremy Smith, and that's what Georgia Tech was holding its breath about a little bit. Coming up, Cisco halftime report. Scott Reese and the guys. Virginia Tech off the bubble. We'll see. They won here today. All-American team. Upset brewing in the Big 12 that you just saw part of. They'll have all that and more coming up shortly.
Tell you what, with all those folks losing yesterday, New Mexico, UMass, Ole Miss, Dayton, Villanova, Florida, Maryland, Ohio State losing today, I think Virginia Tech is a whole lot closer to that invite than they were 24 hours ago.
Shire knocked down both free throws. And we're down at 2:35 in the half. Duke by 12. They've led by as many as 20.
Duke again just not afraid to really overplay and pressure Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech has not been consistently making them pay by overextending their defense. They've had one backdoor cut, and that's been about it as a pressure release.
Smith, tough feed down to Peacock, and he has to try to save it off a Duke player. Georgia Tech turns it over. Not a good possession.
So hard to throw a high-low pass from 8 feet away from each other.
Wallace missed a 3. Now Georgia Tech should have a 4-on-2 here. Jeremy Smith, whoa, rejected by DeMarcus Nelson, and an offensive foul on Smith will be his 3rd.
Boy, huge plays in transition that Duke has done a great job of eliminating what looked like would be an automatic 2. Paulus gets the feet set, and a great job once again by the Duke secondary defender DeMarcus Nelson to come in and erase it. That's 2 possessions in this first half that Georgia Tech had a guaranteed 2 points taken away from them by that Duke aggressive defense.
They're saying that's only 2 fouls on Smith, so erase one of those from your books at home.
Can't let Duke spurt right now before the half.
Oh boy, there's part of the spurt. Gerald Henderson, his second 3. 44-29. Back to 15. Georgia Tech had gotten it down to 10.
Look how far even the bigs of Georgia Tech are pushed out to catch the basketball.
And Henderson rips it out of Peacock's hands, who was trying to get up for a jumper on the baseline. Every shot's been contested for Paul Hewitt's Yellow Jackets. Nothing has come easy. Morrow's had a couple of decent looks at a 3, and he hit 2 of them. But really, nothing else has been that easy, and almost nothing in transition. Even the ones that looked like they were going to get, in the case of Aminu, blocked by Nelson.
Easy, big fella.
I was going to say, whatever's going to happen is not going to be good.
Now he stood there and he foot faked about 3 or 4 seconds, and all he did was tell every Duke defender, I'm getting ready to drive middle. Might as well just hold up a sign and say, I'm getting ready to drive to the middle.
My name's Aminu. I'm coming to the middle.
That's all that served. And the spurt I talked about that Duke can put on you the last 2 minutes of the half. They have a chance to really nail one in right here if they convert.
They've got 7 on the shot clock. We're under a minute in the half. Shire on the drive, kick out to Nelson, and out of bounds as Duke turns it over. That one was headed right for Marty Aronoff, our sensational statistician, and he chose to duck instead of try to take the charge and the ball. After all these years, you think you know how to handle a basketball.
I don't know what the conversation is. I just know this. Anthony Morrow checked back in. If I'm Duke, you put DeMarcus Nelson on him and do not let Anthony Morrow hit a big 3-pointer right here before the half.
Added a little bit of time to the clock. There's about an 8-second difference on the shot clock and the game clock. And again, the overplay by Nelson. Boy, every pass is even being denied.
You're exactly right. And Duke has no fear of just continuing to get closer and closer to those Georgia Tech perimeter players. Morrow's the guy that needs to work off the ball and come to it and get a shot. but Paulus switches out on him, and Morrow can't even get a look.
Peacock's going to force one just to try to get something near the rim. Georgia Tech trying to tip it in. Henderson pulls it down. Duke will have the last shot. And a big lead going to the locker room.
Remember I said Georgia Tech had a chance to keep it at 10, where Duke can go up 15. They may go up 16, 17,
or 18. Paulus might try to make it 18 right here.
Better get it off.
He just did and missed it. So Duke commanding lead going to the locker room up by 15, 44-29, as a huge advantage, 3 times more points in the paint than Georgia Tech has, and shooting 57%. Not only that, they're plus 12 rebounding as we check in with Janine.
Well, Brad, I'm with assistant coach Chris Collins for Duke. I know you were sitting here watching Georgia Tech's game last night. What did you take away from their game last night that you thought you could kind of chip away at this evening?
Well, they're a very confident team. They're shooting the ball with a lot of confidence, and they play hard for 40 minutes. So even though we have a lead, we got to play for 20 more minutes. These guys aren't going to quit.
I don't know how good their confidence is at the moment, but you lead by 15. You've got 20 rebounds, but what do you want to see more of right now?
Just keep fighting for every loose ball. Our defense is the key. We can't leave those guys for open shots. If we play good defense, it'll take care of itself on the offensive end.
Thanks, Coach. We'll see you second half. And, guys, they've got 8 guys who have scored so far.
Yes, they have. Great balance so far at halftime in the ACC. Duke 44, Georgia Tech 29. Let's head to the Cisco halftime report. Here's Scott and the guys.
All right, Brad, so Duke impressive in the paint, 15-point lead at the break. Hanging out with Coach Tom Brennan, Doug Gottlieb. Dougie, you look like you got something to say.
Mike Krzyzewski can't do an interview? Every other coach in college basketball does interviews?
Nope.
He's the only one who can?
Nope. Always.
I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong.
Let the record show. Meanwhile, Duke looking strong, trying to eventually earn a #1 seed in the tournament. North Carolina would appreciate that same fate. And here, taking out Florida State, Tyler Hansborough getting things started with Jay.
Psycho Teeks making jumpers. That makes him so much more effective because he always does this real well.
Yeah, he really has good balance now in his jump shot. He's extended his game to 17 feet, and then they found him in the lane. What a finisher around the basket.
Yeah, he always does that. Good foul shooter, obviously. Over 2,000 points now. What a career.
Yeah, Florida State really never made a run in this game. Carolina in control, 82-70, so the Heels will advance to tomorrow's semifinal. What about Miami and Virginia Tech? Now, this had major bubble ramifications, certainly for the Hokies.
This is a Virginia Tech team that plays 6 freshmen between 15 and 28 minutes a game, and they've improved as the season's gone on.
And James Dew's hitting 30-footers.
Yeah. I mean, look, you beat a team when they're hitting 30-footers.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what, between A.D. Vasayo and Malcolm Delaney, Hokies very impressive in spurts in this ballgame. Not start to finish, but in spurts.
Hey, great clutch shots, just enough to keep in the lead, and they're playing another day.
So we check the resume now for Virginia Tech. Yes, this was a game they had to have, and they got it. Is it enough?
No, staying alive. That's what it allowed them to do. Stay alive. They need to beat Carolina tomorrow. If they do that, they're in.
Nebraska and Kansas, and this has been an interesting first half over in the Big 12. It's Paul Vielander for 3 with a hand in his face.
You can't rely on those for more than 1 or 2 a game, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's this?
No way.
They're up 2. J.R. Strobridge. That's a better look.
Yeah.
Remember, this is a Nebraska team that was humiliated at the hands of Kansas twice in the regular season, but they have good wins. Oklahoma at Texas A&M, Kansas State, and Oregon and Arizona State. With a win, they are a team that could sneak on the bubble.
Well, apparently Doc Sadler's kids learned something from the humiliation because they're playing great, up 5 at the half. Then, of course, the other half of that bracket, Kansas State and Texas A&M should be a very interesting game later tonight.
Yes, indeed. I think it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will be a wonderful semifinal. You have the 2 Kansases playing against each other, and then Texas and who?
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Red River rivalry.
Great.
Hasn't been much of a rivalry this year.
Ohio State beat Michigan State a week ago, but the Buckeyes would sure love to repeat the feat and enhance their NCAA tournament resume.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at MBUSA.com. And Subway. Subway celebrates Jared's 10th anniversary of losing 245 pounds. Subway, eat fresh.
Most of the people we built the M-Class for will never drive across the desert.
Most people will never need windshield wipers that perform at out-of-bounds speeds. Most people will never make a mountain rescue.
We'll never need the strength of over 5,000 welds or scale a 70% slope.
But the truth is, some will.
And knowing that, we cannot engineer anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less
Than a true Mercedes-Benz.
than a true Mercedes-Benz.
He's not a celebrity, but he's famous. He's not a politician, but people know what he stands for. He's not a preacher, but he does have a devoted following. Congrats, Jared, on an amazing feat, losing 245 pounds and keeping it off for 10 years. Happy we could help with our mouth-watering low-fat subs. Subway. Eat fresh.
Hello, may I help you?
Clyde and Keith to see Emmett Smith. Emmett, your stash is trash.
Your beard is weird.
Just for Men Gel.
Gets rid of gray in 5 easy minutes.
His edge is back. He scores! Just for men. Keep your edge.
Beaverton Lincoln Mercury Mitsubishi on Canyon Road is all about great cars at great prices, backed up by exceptional service. Like this 2006 Suzuki Forenza with less than 100 miles for just $8,988. Or this 2007 Chrysler Pacifica, loaded with third seat and leather for just $16,988. How about this 2006 Lincoln Navigator, fully loaded for just $32,988. So before you buy anywhere else, shop Beaverton Lincoln Mercury Mitsubishi on Canyon Road and experience the difference for yourself.
Dimes are shiny and round. Nickels are also round. Dollars are not round. Dollars are rectangles. What can I buy with 2 rectangles? A bus ride. You're right. Good job, honey.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
This is the Cisco Halftime Report.
Georgetown, West Virginia, Roy Hibbert coming off a bagel yesterday and figures, well, if it's not working inside, I'll just pull up and shoot the 3.
Didn't take him long to go off the schneid, did it?
UConn fans remember that shot. A little too well. John Flowers following the miss, and steady work on the offensive glass. Got a 2-point game. Great look here. Patrick Ewing Jr. leaves it for Vernon Macklin and one. Hoyas up 11, second half. Elsewhere looky here, fellas. St. Joe's, finally a bubble team maybe doing what it has to do to get into the tournament.
And go ahead, Doug.
No, I was going to say, let's not jinx it, but this would be the second win over Xavier. They swept UMass, wins at Temple, wins at Canada, wins that round. They are in, and I think you make the argument could play for a 9 seed, considering what everybody else on the bubble is doing.
Pretty good team.
Yes,
good
they are
team.
a pretty good team. You're right.
Ohio State and Michigan State, the ultimate bubble team, perhaps. Thad Matta's Buckeyes. Tom Izzo's a little stressed during much of this game. It was tight throughout. Jamar Butler for 3. We're all tied at the break. Second half, Evan Turner, Othello Hunter ties it at 3-4. But you know what? There was a stretch where there were like 4 fouls called on the Buckeye big men, and they never really seemed to recover.
Make the extra pass here, give a great shooter a great look, and that's usually what happens.
Seem to have confidence and rhythm today. You have 28 points, almost like a different man from that 2-for-9 performance last Sunday.
SEC, Tennessee, South Carolina. Bruce Pearl always smiling. Yeah, and Dave Odom hoping to extend his career one more day. Dominique Archie helping the cause with a putback. Gamecocks up by 1. Final minute. Tyler Smith gets loose.
Run a little Bonnie's cut off the post.
Yeah, it was Chris Lofton who set the screen. Remember, they didn't help off Lofton because he's a shooter. Put that in the back of your mind.
There's Archie again. Back and forth we go. Vols down 1, but did you mention Lofton?
Yep, now he set the screen.
Did you say he's a shooter?
The screener. 3 or 4 guys fall down the lane, and you just can't fall down when you're guarding Chris Lofton late in the game.
And here, 1.1 seconds to get a shot off. They don't even do that.
They don't. And let's give some credit to Tyler Smith, who did a great defensive job.
Anticlimactic, but Tennessee does win 89-87. Arkansas knocks off Vandy, so you get the Hogs and the Vols tomorrow. Bottom half of the bracket still yet to be decided, although Mississippi State has a lead against Alabama.
That is going to be a highly watchable basketball game. Tennessee and Arkansas up and down. First one to 100.
I believe so. Much more on the way as we get set to head back to the ACC tournament. Duke in command, up 15 at the break.
This halftime report is presented by Cisco. Welcome to the Human Network.
If your bike won't start, try changing the spark plug.
你忙吗？请你给我股价单。项目方面有什么进展吗？
T'en pensais trop, qu'est-ce que tu penses?
Go there.
Ok, on y va.
Welcome to a network where video changes everything. Cisco, welcome to the Human Network.
Most of the people we built the M-Class for will never drive across the desert.
Most people will never need windshield wipers that perform at out-of-bound speeds. Most people will never make a mountain rescue.
We'll never need the strength of over 5,000 welds or scale a 70% slope.
But the truth is, some will.
And knowing that, we cannot engineer anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less.
Anything less.
Than a true Mercedes-Benz.
Than a true Mercedes-Benz.
Taste Papa John's perfect pan pizza and experience pandemonium. A large pan crust, deep enough to pile on the toppings, and zesty Robusto sauce. One taste and you'll be a pan fan. Get a large 3-topping pan pizza, only $12.99. It's better than ever. And shoot for 2. Buy 2 20-ounce Cokes online and get a free Coke Zero.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Pandemonium. Taste it.
The brewers of Guinness Stout are circulating a petition to make St. Patrick's Day an official holiday. As a national holiday yourself, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm really scared. Is that what you're asking me? Am I shaking in my square-toed shoes? Is this guy for real? Do you know who I am? Have you seen my parade? They shut down Central Park West for my parade. I have floats. I'm a big deal. Big balloons.
Please drink responsibly.
Yeah, a tree fell on my car. I'm covered, right?
Was it a ficus?
I don't know. Who cares?
Well, the low-rate plan you chose does not include tree-related incidents, except for the ficus.
You're joking, right?
No.
If you could save on car insurance without cutting your coverage, why wouldn't you? Call State Farm and see why it pays to shop the leader first. Get a quote and start saving today.
That's no ficus.
Kobe's next big test, the Streaking Rockets and Tracy McGrady. The Lakers are heading to Houston, trying to stop the Rockets' franchise record winning streak. Can LA keep their hold on history from when they won 33 straight? It's Hornets Pistons at 1. Lakers Rockets at 3:30 on ABC, home of the NBA Finals.
This halftime report is presented by Cisco. Welcome to the Human Network.
Patriot League championship game, Colgate and American. The Eagles never been to the NCAA tournament. First half, Jordan Nichols, the putback, and
I like their store. I got some good jeans from their store. American Eagle? No?
Not the same.
Sorry. Nichols again, good ball movement. Takes just 3 shots, makes all 3. Good day at the office.
And there's Mr. Nichols again.
Yes, sir. Still a 1-point game. Final 30 seconds, down 3. And Brian Colgate, big defensive play, and that's it.
Good,
American.
Good for Jeff Jones. He's been 0-3 in conference finals to this point. Finally gets one. I know he had to be relieved.
Jeff Jones overcome with emotion at the conclusion there. Suspension fines handed out for that brouhaha with the Yanks and Rays. Les Miles gets some more money, and Tiger is a good golfer. Back to the ACC after this.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Las Vegas, overtime guaranteed, and Jaguar Cars. Drive the new XF today.
New prototype. Let's see what this Gators think.
Is it working?
It's better.
Got a little revolution, 'cause I wrote better too. I call it my inspiration.
Welcome to a network where instant feedback creates instant success. Cisco, welcome to the Human Network.
They say the clothes make the man. And a pair of albino crocodile loafers pretty much says you're the man. Except back home. And maybe it's best not to mention the new slacks and private fitting. You can see how imaginations might run wild. People might start wondering, just what kind of double life have you been leading? Because who really knows what a guy with an outfit like that is capable of? Hey, Fashionistador, your Vegas is showing.
I need the loving and I'm not to blame now.
Chili cheeseburgers from Carl's Jr. If you don't want chili fries with them, too bad. You get them anyway. Chili cheeseburgers, back at Carl's Jr.
Home buyers, March 15th and 16th only, take part in a 2-day condominium liquidation sale in Lake Oswego. Only 9 units remain to sell in this prized location with spectacular views of the Willamette River. These fully renovated homes come with wood-burning fireplaces and washers and dryers. Originally priced to $478,000, minimum bids accepted as low as $289,000. Only during this 2-day unprecedented liquidation sale. Call or go online today.
ACC, 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 ACC. Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech, Duke.
That's a long note to hold because Duke is the only team in the ACC that's a one-syllable note. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the ACC Tournament, all part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And right now, the Blue Devils, the number 2 seed and the number 7 team in the country, Jimmy Joe Dykes, they're playing at a different octave than Georgia Tech right now, is all Duke in the first half. Georgia Tech's a sour note right now at 44-29.
Duke is just face guarding all over the floor, and as a result, Georgia Tech's offense looks like recess on the last day of school. A lot of movement with no organization whatsoever. They're thinking with their feet, and right now Duke's pressure is the bottom line of this ball game. Georgia Tech has to have an answer for it. They better have an answer quickly.
They are swarming to the ball and making Georgia Tech play one-on-one basketball, and that is not their strong suit. So Duke starts the second half up 44-29.
And the stat that backs it up, how about Georgia Tech? Only 30% from the 2-point part of the floor in that first half.
They're 57% from three-point land. The problem is they've only hit 4 of those, too. And now the lead just extended to 17, 46-29. Janine, I know you talked to Paul Hewitt, either coming in or going into the locker room. His team scores there. What do you have to say?
Well, I'll tell you, just as Jimmy was saying, they're not organized. He said, you know, we're doing a lot of standing around and we're doing east-west dribbling, which is not accomplishing a whole lot. He said, we're not getting to the inside. Duke's doing a really good job of rushing their rhythm. So he said, it's not that we have to play harder, but we need to play smarter.
That's exactly right. That was that running around at recess thing that Jimmy was talking about. Statistically, in the first half, Georgia Tech, kind of what happened in the first game with Duke this year, shooting poorly. Morrow and Peacock lead the way. Shire off the bench has 10 points. The points in the paint, the rebound margin, everything belonging to Duke. With our Guinness halftime statistics is Thomas, one of those guys with 6 points and 4 rebounds. Shire not starting the second half as he did in the ball game, but think about this. You talk about an advantage in rebounding. Duke's got 4 guys that have at least 4 rebounds in the first half, including Lance Thomas.
You know what, Brad? If you don't have some guards with some quickness that can go by you, like Wake Forest does, they beat Duke, and like North Carolina does, they beat Duke, then it could be a long evening. You have to have some guards that can make Duke pay for really extending their pressure to all 5 spots.
Donnie Lawal kept the ball alive and then skipped with it. Another traveling violation on Georgia Tech.
Another example of playing too fast from Georgia Tech. All the Wall had to do was slow down.
Yeah.
He was 6 feet from the rim, and instead he gets those feet moving way too quick.
Johnny's 6'8". He's going to be a good one, but right now he's not. He's just a colt out there, and he's not quite ready for the Derby. This guy is. Paulus to Henderson. That was pretty. 50-31, the lead, the second biggest of the night now for Duke. Smith trying to drive off the glass, and he'll go to the free throw line with a chance for a three-point play. Anderson picks up his second foul.
Duke is going to play with a pressure all 5 positions, and that forces the on-ball defenders for Mike Krzyzewski to play with a no-help mentality. So what I mean by that, Brad, when they go out to take on the basketball, in their mind they're thinking, I don't have any help. My teammates are locked up with their guy, so I've got to pressure my guy and contain my guy. It's not easy to do, but they're doing it right now against Georgia Tech.
Jeremy Smith caps off the three-point play. 6 for the game for Smith. Here's Singler, who had the early foul trouble and didn't play much of that first half. Duke didn't need him, in fact. DeMarcus Nelson lost it off his knee.
And the last possession, Duke threw the alley-oop and a great execution on the weak side of the floor. I want you to keep an eye right here on the screener, Singler. Watch what he does. He down screens, then watch. Boom, the back screen, and that's what frees up Henderson running to the rim. Just a quick down screen, boom, turn around, reverse screen. You can throw a lob about every time when you execute it as well as they did.
Here's DeAndre Bell at the point for Georgia Tech. Not normally playing that spot. It's usually Miller, the freshman. Bell up and under. Nice move. DeAndre Bell, junior out of Los Angeles.
You can see what Paul Hewitt emphasized at the half. Guys like Bell, Mo Miller, you've got to be productive when you go somewhere with that basketball, get to the rim and finish in this game.
And offensive foul on Nelson. DeMarcus Nelson picks up his second foul. DeAndre Bell stronger, at least right now, than Maurice Miller, and bigger, and sliced through with that left hand.
Now, you know why Bell was effective right there, Brad? He's probably the slowest guy that Georgia Tech has. But that works right now for Georgia Tech. Slow down a little bit and play to your rhythm.
Here's Miller on the drive against Paulus. And one. Well, Miller took his time, deliberately going to the lane, and he's fouled by Paulus.
So they're trying to answer, just like I said they have to answer. Can their guards in this second half do enough of this type of stuff right here? Drive the basketball, because the other Duke defenders are all locked up to their guy. Can they finish one-on-one at the rim?
And they have 2 times in a row. If they continue to do that, it's going to open up the kickouts for Morrow and those guys outside the arc.
Because then Duke has to start adjusting. But right now, Paul Hewitt knows he needs another 2 or 3 good minutes of one-on-one basketball with his guards, Miller and Bell. Can they get in that lane and continue to tighten up this ball game?
Former AAA Player of the Year in the state of Tennessee. 3-point play. Tech on an 8-0 run. They had one of these earlier. The problem is Duke's had about 4 of them. Nelson, the kick out. Anderson gave up a 3 to drive and score. Wow, does he get great elevation when he gets in the paint.
Had great rhythm on that drive, didn't he? He knew when he put the ball down, he was looking to find out where the help defender was.
How about that? Miller decides to take one from about 22 and knocks it down.
So they couldn't cut it to 10 before the half, but they come right out of the first 3 minutes and cut it to 10. And Georgia Tech is right back in this ball game.
Anderson baseline jumper, a little bit short. Rebound Peacock. Georgia Tech can get to single digits should they score this trip down. Miller thought about a 3 and it's almost turned it over. Here's Lawal with a hook shot. Georgia Tech's made it an 8-point game.
And it was all triggered by Georgia Tech 2 or 3 times in the first 3 minutes. Their guards drove by the pressure of Duke and finished. Now some other things are starting to open up for their offense.
Mike Krzyzewski wants to talk it over. Georgia Tech on a 13-2 run the last 2 minutes, and they're back in the ball game. 16:32 to go. This one's far from over. Maurice Miller. He says, we want Mo. Georgia Tech has made it a ball game.
ESPN's Tournament Challenge. Fill out your brackets on ESPN.com. ESPN, the authority on bracketology.
Bud Light is brewed to give you everything you want in a beer. Never-ending refreshment, superior drinkability, and now the ability to fly.
Look at me! I'm flying! I can't believe this! Man, this is awesome! Look at the clouds! What the...
The ability to fly no longer available in Bud Light. The endless refreshment, however, remains.
Bud Light keeps it coming.
For a flight?
I need the loving and I'm not to blame now.
Today, I plan on working my phone without worrying about my bill. I plan on calling back Justin, Troy, Brad. Hey, Brad. Not Brad. I plan on telling my brother what I really think about his girlfriend and telling everybody everything I've been holding back. This is gonna be fun. I was just about to call
America's most reliable network introduces a plan with truly unlimited calling. Talk as much as you want with anyone in the U.S. for one flat rate. And now buy an Alias by Samsung for $79.99 and get one free. Verizon Wireless.
Why are energy drinks bad? 12 spoons of sugar? That's bad. 200 calories? Bad. Guarana? Tisk, tisk. Good for a short jittery burst, then a debilitating crash. So don't drink energy drinks. Drink 5-Hour Energy. It's not a drink, more like a sip. But with that sip, you'll feel alert and focused for hours, without the crash or jitters. It has 0 sugar, only 4 calories, and no guarana. 5-Hour Energy. Hours of energy now, no crash later.
This ESPN2 telecast is available in spectacular high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Olivia. Boston College Eagles fans coming up the escalator, getting ready for their matchup with the Clemson Tigers tonight, and no doubt will be cheering that young man, Tyrese Rice, the #2 scorer in the conference. That's our second half of our doubleheader tonight from Bobcat Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. Brad Nessler, Jimmy Dykes, Janine Edwards with you. Georgia Tech is on a run that's put them back in the ball game within 8. Shire misses a jumper, and Georgia Tech's got the rebound. Georgia Tech on a 13-2 push here. And now trying not to throw it away. The wall tracks it down. Miller for 3. And they're going to get it back. Inside they go. The wall double team. Trying to go up and under again. That's his best move in 2 nights.
You know what, Brad? You're not going to score over the top of 7-1. So for a youngster to understand that and go around the 7-1, really a high IQ play.
20-point lead in the first half. A 19-point lead just moments ago. It's down to 6. Zubek had it stripped on the baseline.
Zubek caught it high and brought it low, and that's why he got stripped.
Johnny Lawal, we were talking about him. He's going to be a good one, just a freshman, but former Georgia Mr. Basketball. As Jimmy said, when you can't go over, go under. Georgia Tech's back to within 6.
This caramel mocha Java chiller is so good.
I love this mocha Java chiller. I don't know why, I just feel a little like, ah.
I actually think it's a shot of real espresso in there.
What?
Yeah, these have shots of real espresso.
No, they don't. Look, it looks like a shake.
Yeah, it's caffeine.
I didn't even notice.
Well, I do.
Java Chillers at Sonic. A shot of premium roast espresso blended into an indulgent frozen treat of your favorite flavors. And stop in for happy hour. Half-price fountain drinks and slushes every day from 2 to 4 p.m.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life. And there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge. The 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Drive it forever.
Who does she think she's kidding? You know what she's been doing in Miami. You sit here, staring at a cement wall, alone, and she has the gall to just show up 3 days later, toss her bag in the back, and pretend she doesn't smell like new car. She was with a Prius hybrid. Oh, so now suddenly she's an environmentalist.
With dozens of the hottest cars to choose from, there's a reason Avis is your other car.
now playing. Single again, with gray hair. How am I going to start over?
Just for Men targets only the gray and 5 easy minutes.
Dating again is easier than I thought.
Show them what you've got. Stay in the game with Just for Men.
With all the credit card offers out there, how do you find the right card for you? It's easy at corediscussions.com. You control the process online. No hype, selling, or pressure. It's secure, easy, and free. Find the right card for you at corediscussions.com today.
Scott Reese in the studio with your Sports Center right now, and it's almost right now. About 5 minutes ago, Lakers star Pau Gasol left the game against the Hornets with a sprained ankle. X-rays are imminent. The Lakers top seed in the West right now. And ACC basketball earlier today, North Carolina beats Florida State. Virginia Tech in a game the Hokies had to have knock off Miami. Those two will meet tomorrow. Sports Center, 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPN News. Brad.
Pau Gasol should have never had that full-page picture in Sports Illustrated this week, should he? Nope. Georgia Tech scored 17 points in the last 3 minutes and 51 seconds. They're back to within 6, and they're putting the pressure right now on Duke. Here's King for 3. Nice rebound by McClure. Now Shire, a triple. It won't go. Zubek had a hand on it. King keeps it alive again. They'll get a third chance.
The team you normally don't give a third chance to on one end of the floor.
Georgia Tech gave him 4 chances in the first half on a possession.
The urgency that Georgia Tech's playing with in this half so much different than the first 20 minutes.
Boy, is it ever. Zubek had it partially blocked. Georgia Tech's got it back and looking to run. Miller all the way in and scores.
Brad, they have now scored on 8 of their 10 possessions in the second half. We got us a ball game, folks.
And Mike Krzyzewski's got 5 new bodies up at the scorer's table. Smith will try to quiet things. In and out. Rebound, Georgia Tech.
And that is not how you quiet things when you're trying to silence a run to shoot a quick 3. Look at this.
Clinch. Up and over. That would have made it a 1-point game had it have gone. Here comes the cavalry.
Look at this block. You're talking about giving up about 5 or 6 inches to Zubek, but still the wall does a great job. And then there's the instant push. And right now, Georgia Tech playing with more emotion and more effort than Duke. And that was the complete opposite of what we saw the first 20 minutes.
The wall is Georgia Tech's leading shot blocker. That's his 32nd of the year. Look at the field goal story. Jimmy talked about it. 8 of 11 in this half. And Duke only 30%. Georgia Tech 17-2 run.
Remember the toughness that Jeremy Smith, although he hasn't had a great ball game so far, the leadership and the emotion that he and Morrow bring to this Georgia Tech ball club, it's starting to kind of seep through.
Georgia Tech had one 8-0 run in the first half, but for the most part, Duke had the big runs, but now it's Georgia Tech's turn to open up the second half. 14:08 to play, and what was once a 20-point Duke blowout in the making is down to 4.
Kyle Singler was about 2 inches from an over and back call because he established position in the front court and almost went back court.
Singler wants it. Baseline jumper, short. Smith with a rebound. The outlet to Causey. Entry pass to Aminu.
They'll have an open 3.
Clinch, sets and fires, got it. Just inside the three-point line.
They have an open 3 because it went inside to Aminu, and he didn't force it because Duke did a good job of surround sound defense. He kicked it out, and the next pass is what will always be open.
I'm looking around this arena. The Georgia Tech fans are on their feet, and the Clemson fans have taken up the Georgia Tech chants. Down to a 2-point ball game, and a whistle and a foul on Clinch.
Brad, here's what I'm talking about. The ball's going to go inside to Aminu, and when he gets it, he feels the pressure. Look at all this pressure on him, but he doesn't panic. He's a young player. Don't panic. Kick it back out, and Causey could not reverse it quick enough, and Clinch, boom, big shot.
Now to Marcus Nelson will go to the free throw line. If there is one kind of shaky spot in his game, it would probably be the stripe. He's about a 61% free throw shooter. what he's done tonight, though.
Brad, I'm sorry. What's at stake in this ball game again? It's worth bringing back up. Duke has the potential to play their way to a #1 seed. But you know what? With a loss tonight, they could also have the potential to drop to the #1-3 seed, because Kansas, Texas, Georgetown, Xavier, they're all fighting for that second line, in my opinion. Duke cannot afford to lose this ball game and flirt with dropping to a 3 seed.
Now they know they're in for a battle, as Nelson got one of two. 53-50. 13 and change, and Georgia Tech's got 3 big bodies coming off their bench the next time we get a whistle.
People say, what's the difference of a 2 and a 3? Like I said in the open, the 3 seeds over the last 25 years, when you get to the Sweet 16, they are actually below 500 in the NCAA tournament. That's the difference.
Henderson pull up way short. Duke kind of rushed that, but Singler comes up with a steal. And now an open look on the baseline goes for Nelson.
What a play by Singler, huh? Not only to come up with a steal, but to tight rope the sidelines and not go out of bounds. Terrific control over a 6'8" body.
Smith could have taken all the way. Offensive foul. And that's his 4th. Well, he had an opening, kind of tried to hang in the air, and Duke had position to take the charge, and now that will do it for Jeremy Smith, their captain, for a while. Singler hung in there and took one right in the chin.
Jeremy should have either pulled up. He went one step too far, or he had a great opportunity to dish it off on the weak side for a dunk. That's a very, very big foul, because that's the heart, the soul, the tone setter, and the pulse beat for Georgia Tech right now.
Exactly. They've just lost their inside muscle for who knows how long, maybe 6 minutes or more.
Georgia Tech really pressuring Duke, just like Duke did to Georgia Tech the first 20 minutes.
Singler got it inside. Thought he was going to be a little too strong with that shot, but it hung in there and dropped for him, and Duke goes back in front by 8. 12 minutes left. Winner will meet the winner of the Clemson-Boston College game in Game 2 tonight. Peacock had it slapped out from behind. And we've got a timeout. 11:51 remaining in the ball game. Georgia Tech had got it to 2. Duke with 6 straight points, though. And now Anthony Morrow hoping for a miracle, but his team trails by 8.
I need the loving and I'm not to blame now.
Now, every season is football season. From aerial attacks to awesome moves. Watch Russell Athletic ESPN Arena Football Monday at 8 as the Colorado Crush battle the Dallas Desperados on ESPN2.
The journey begins on Selection Monday. From the tournament draw,
This Maryland team is dangerous.
to the final buzzer.
Tennessee wins a national championship.
We'll take you there. Women's Basketball Selection Special, Monday at 7 on ESPN.
Hey, Ted, it's your brother. Listen, I know we've had a lot of awkward phone conversations over the years, but I think I solved the problem. I just got Comcast Digital Voice Home Phone Service. So this call should go a lot less awkward, because it's digital.
Your phone calls won't change. They'll just cost less. Affordable and reliable Comcast Digital Voice.
Some of sports' most electrifying moments are the most unexpected. Don't miss the comebacks. This group of misfits.
Hi-ho. Hi-ho.
Find out college is no fairy tale. Amanda Vine stars.
Hey, Terrence.
And Sydney White. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
Scott Reese, Tom Brennan in the studio. Great action in the Big Ten. Illinois, Purdue, Illini down 3 in the final 20 seconds, and Dimitri McCamey with his 6th triple.
In 6 tries, my friend.
They are in overtime now. Elsewhere, Georgetown dispatching of West Virginia, and St. Joe's knocks off Xavier. Some major potential ramifications here. We'll talk all about it on game night. Brett?
Boy, no kidding. Thanks, guys, for the update here. Georgia Tech had a nice run, but Duke has stretched it back to 8, 58-50. Clemson and Boston College, don't forget, play in the nightcap. The Tigers, they're heading back to their locker room to start planning strategy against Tyrese Rice and the Boston College Eagles. Clemson comes in as a number 3 seed, and they play in the nightcap tonight. Whistle, quick foul. Gerald Henderson picks up his 3rd.
Big win for St. Joe's in the A-10. And what does that do to Xavier? Now they cannot climb up to a 2 seed in my estimation. So that is a game going on somewhere else across the country that affects Duke. That helps Duke to hang into that 2 seed, even if they were to lose this ball game.
Peacock got it on the baseline. Zach Peacock, first field goal in the second half, 9 points for the game. 58-52. As we're at 11.5 minutes remaining in this quarterfinal matchup between the 7th-ranked team in the country, the Duke Blue Devils, and the unranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Paulus got it over to Shire in the corner. Whoa, big collision over there on the baseline, and crazy foul. That'll hurt you. Anthony Morrow made a run at Shire and then kept right on running, right through his arm. So that's going to put the number 2 free throw shooter in the conference on the line for 3 free throws.
Yes, there was contact, but Duke also is the very best in the country at knowing how to get fouled on a 3-point shot. They will shoot and get their arms out and their legs out just a little bit and expect the contact to come, and they do a terrific job of exaggerating it.
Shire has actually missed one tonight, which almost never happens, but he's 5 out of 6 from the stripe at this first point of the second half.
And to me, that's a high IQ play. I mean, that's, you know, Reggie Miller did that for years in the NBA, just making the most of every opportunity that you have. Just like Duke, when a timeout is called, they will sprint to their bench, and I've been counting it in this game. They get an extra 10 to 12 seconds every timeout with their kids because of their sprint factor to the bench. He is on top of every small area of the game, Coach K.
It all adds up, doesn't it?
Sure it does.
Back to a 9-point Duke lead. 3 free throws hit by Shire.
Here's the Jim Boeheim 2-3 zone that Mike Krzyzewski picked up over the summer.
Because of the Olympic situation.
They will use some in March when they have to. And right now they're playing small ball, and they go zone.
Peacock underneath. Second chance for Peacock. Zach Peacock, as he's done throughout this final couple weeks of the ACC season and into the tournament, 11 points off the Georgia Tech bench.
Georgia Tech can't let this ball game get back to 10, 11, 12 points. They've had to use too much energy to get this close.
Shire almost traveled, and now Georgia Tech plays for the steal. Nelson, the extra kick to Paulus, and he knocks down a 3.
They have had 2 opportunities in the last minute. They almost had a run out to the other end. They couldn't come up with a steal, and Duke has made him pay.
Lawal, left-handed hook shot. Good-looking shot by Gani Lawal. Midway point of the second half, and 64-56.
Paul Hewitt telling his kids, extend defensively. We've got to keep the pressure on Duke. I mean, they're the number 7 team in the country, not us. We're the team that has to win this ball game to keep our pulse beat going. Our season's over. We've got to extend an overplay right now.
Remember, Georgia Tech had to play last night, and they had to extend quite a bit of energy, though the score, when you look at it, at 94-76 over Virginia, it wasn't that big a blowout, really. They had to stay in that game and fight all the way deep into the second half. So energy might be a factor, and we'll see how much Georgia Tech has. 9:48 to play.
15 on the shot clock, and Georgia Tech has been very poor defending out-of-bounds plays in this game so far. That's a much better job of Lawal keeping a good angle between Paulus and the rim.
All those long arms, usually the guy that checks the inbound play, and he will again.
Look at that angle he's got right there. I mean, he's directly between Paulus and the rim. That's the perfect position to clean up. There it is again. Look at that angle. Lawal does a much better job that time of taking away the vision of Paulus.
Now the problem is he's got to try to guard him. And he stepped on the baseline, I think. Was it Paulus or Shire? Anyway, Duke turns it over. Duke hasn't had a lot of turnovers tonight. Let's check in with Janine.
Well, guys, as you know from when we sat down with Coach K, he was very concerned about fatigue in terms of Duke's players having a tendency sometimes to ease up and let other teams get back into games. So he was telling us today that this week in practice, he's been only going once a day. He said they've been hard practices, but they've been only one-a-day practices, because I'm thinking of this as a long-term thing, a long-haul thing, and I want my guys around for the long haul. So I'm wondering if he's starting to think a little bit about the fatigue issue right now, Jimmy. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's got a deep bench, and he's used it tonight. But he said, you know what, something I normally don't do. I have really practiced hard this week, knowing that this is the last full week that I had. They were on spring break. They could only concentrate on basketball. They had a lot of recovery time between practices. But he made the point, we have gone hard in preparation for this tournament, hoping that it will pay off for the next tournament.
7 of the past 9 ACC tournament championships, national championships for Mike Krzyzewski in 91, 92, and 2001. Peacock double teamed and not a good pass, trying to get it to Aminu, who doesn't have the best hands on Georgia Tech's team to start with, and Singler just swiped it right away. Akazi all over Paulus. Paulus is going to have to call a timeout.
Kamikaze was the one-man press right there, wasn't he?
Yep. And so Duke takes the timeout. 8:56 remaining in the ball game. 64-56. Duke remaining in front by 8 points. North Carolina, of course, the top seed. Duke, the number 2 seed. And North Carolina advanced earlier today. As you take a look back, Florida State hung with them, especially in the first half. And then Roy Williams said, let's just calm down. Let's get it to number 50. That might not be a bad idea. Tyler Hansbrough ended up with 22 points and 6 rebounds as North Carolina advances to tomorrow's semifinals. They'll take on Virginia Tech, the surprising and youthful Hokies of Seth Greenberg. I talked to Coach out in the parking lot before the ball game out by the buses, and I said, Coach, I loved what you said in one of your post-game comments. He said he told his young guys, you know what, we're in the ACC tournament. Why don't we go out and play basketball and have fun? He said, it's not that difficult. I said, I love that. Everybody tries to make it so complex, and sometimes if you turn a bunch of guys, young guys loose, they don't know what they don't know yet.
Right. He had 2 big performances today from one freshman, Jeff Allen, with a double-double, and Deron Washington, 14 and 12, and they clamped down on Miami defensively.
Jeff Allen's got his own time zone, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
He's a big guy. That one in and out and just hung on the rim on a spin. And Georgia Tech and Peacock missed an opportunity underneath. And now it's a double-digit lead again, and Duke's going to pull it out here a little bit. Maybe save some of their energy with 8 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in the ball game.
Georgia Tech has now put themselves in position where they need back-to-back-to-back stops, just like the other evening. And when you're going to try to advance on in the ACC tournament as the number 7 seed that Georgia Tech is, and you're down 10, Paul Hewitt's club right now, do they have enough sting in them as Yellow Jackets to get back-to-back-to-back stops? We're getting ready to find out.
Yep.
Good angle by Aminu again as the baseline out-of-bounds guy.
15 on the shot clock, just over 8 to play. As DeMarcus Nelson says, just clear out, I can get by Peacock. And maybe he was right, but he missed the shot. Got it back, and he's fouled, or stepped on the baseline. Stepped on the baseline.
So, Brad, there's one.
Yep, that's one.
With 8 minutes to go, they get their first stop in what should be back-to-back-to-back stops if they're going to get back in this ball game.
Going to need some help, and now they have to call a timeout, and that's not good. Zach Peacock really didn't even have anybody on him per se. He just couldn't find a man to pass it to.
Boy, that's tough. You burn a timeout right now. You still have 2 to go, but you might need that third one when it's all said and done.
Well, we know that Georgia Tech's season will be over if indeed they end it tonight. They're down by 10 right now. They've cut it down to 2. We also know Duke is going to jump on that plane maybe to get to San Antonio. Jimmy's jet.
Well, they're going to be in first class.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether they have an exit row and an aisle seat, or they're at the back of first class. And right now, the teams out of the ACC that are on that NCAA jet, Carolina and Duke, there's Clemson in a good, solid coach exit row. Second to the last row is Miami. I think they're solidly on the plane. They just had to shift back one row today. They might be in a middle seat with no room overhead for their carry-on luggage. And Virginia Tech and Florida State are standby. I think Florida State is they've been moved to the back of the standby list, and Virginia Tech is creeping their way up, especially with all those losses yesterday. Virginia Tech with a chance to keep winning. They have gone from 15th on the standby list to maybe number 2 or 3. That's very important.
Under the 8-minute mark, Maurice Miller pulls back, fires, missed the jumper. DeMarcus Nelson another rebound. And it's a danger zone for Georgia Tech right now. Trailing by 10. Duke able to use the clock to their advantage.
So Brad, Georgia Tech got a stop at the 8-minute mark, but they couldn't convert. So now they have to get another stop here at the 7-minute mark.
They got a stop. They didn't get a go.
Right.
Shire, a lot of dribbling. 6 on the shot clock. They use that clock all the way down, and now Nelson for 3. And almost missed everything. McClure trying to keep it alive. And it's out of bounds to Georgia Tech.
There's their other stop, though.
They got the stop. Can they get some offense going when we come back? We'll find out. 7:02 to play.
Duke Blue Devils, Duke Blue Devils, Duke Blue Devils, Duke Blue Devils.
I will break the home run record because I worked hard for it.
I will lead my team and win the World Cup. Together, we can do anything.
I will win the championship. Winning is my motivation.
The gold medal is mine. The desire is in my blood.
Go ahead. Cut corners.
Forget team.
For me, there is no easy way out.
I'll win with my heart.
Heart.
My heart. Our hearts.
Building sportsmanship and dreams for 60 years. Every season starts at Dick's Sporting Goods.
This new KFC toasted wrap is good. Just because it's toasted doesn't mean it's so much better than my snack wrap with ranch. Meg, if you had to choose between
that one. It's not done till it's toasted. Introducing the new KFC toasted wrap for just $1.29. Life tastes better with KFC.
Most brewers have a dash of hops.
We use a pound of hops per barrel.
We add some caramel malt to that.
Samuel Adams Lager is a full-bodied, complex beer.
But everything is there in balance.
We haven't deviated from the recipe because it works. It's a great beer.
My power is more powerful than your power.
My power hits harder.
Do I make you nervous?
I'm quicker than you. I got strong all day.
Can't stop me. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it.
Reacts fast.
Quick.
Quick, Yvonne, quick.
I'm fast.
Yeah.
Your speed moves like a gravy boat.
My speed's already watching the next commercial.
It's not very good.
Your agility owes my agility $20.
Watch this.
My quick smells like fresh toast.
French toast.
My better.
My better?
It's better than your better.
My better's better than your better. Thank you very much for coming.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's.
Scott Reese, Tom Brennan in the studio. Nebraska playing Kansas tough in the Big 12 quarterfinal, but here the Jayhawks get one from Ariel Chalmers up and Sasha Khan down.
Yeah, they know how to pass the ball. They have a very, very, very good basketball team, and they gave them a lot of run, did Nebraska, but it's not going to be enough.
And looky here, Illinois up 4 on Purdue, 26 ticks in overtime, so the dream is still alive for the Illini.
This is a flat-out shocker, and one of these teams is going to do this in one of these tournaments. Oh, it's going to happen.
All right, Brad.
Where'd Gottlieb go, guys? Did he go to the Duke locker room to talk to Coach K? I'm just checking.
To get that interview?
Get that interview. 66-56. 7:02 remaining in the ballgame. Duke's got Shire and Paulus, Thomas, Singler, and DeMarcus Nelson on the floor. They're starters with the exception of Shire. Georgia Tech will bring out DeAndre Bell, Maurice Miller, Zach Peacock, Anthony Morrow, and Gotti Lawal. So 2 freshmen out there for Georgia Tech. Their senior leadership, if it's going to come, is going to come from Anthony Morrow. Jeremy Smith still on the bench with 4 fouls. Pretty soon they're going to have to pull the plug and get him out there.
Brad, it does you no good if you get back-to-back stops, but you can't score points. Georgia Tech now with an opportunity to score points here, they've got to make sure that the right guy's taking the shots.
Thomas picks up the foul. Not a shooting situation yet for Georgia Tech, but a fresh shot clock. That's not their worry right now. Finding some offense is.
Georgia Tech is a score, a stop, and a score from putting pressure back on Duke. Right now, Duke up 10. They're not feeling any pressure. You got to put pressure on Duke if you're Georgia Tech right now.
Miller going against Thomas. Got his own miss in the tall timbers. Will he try it 3 times? Yes. And he had it taken away by Singler. 1, 2, 3, and out. Probably not a good choice for the smallest guy on the floor for Georgia Tech to get in there and try 3 different shots. Again, Duke utilizing the clock, making it their 6th man right now with 10 seconds left to shoot.
That would have been block me once, shame on you. Block me twice, shame on me.
Exactly. And Singler, shame on leaving me alone on the baseline, buries the 3.
There's your answer probably in this ball game. Georgia Tech, when they had to get 3 stops in a row and score twice, they have not been able to do it.
Instead, they missed 3 shots and gave up a 3. And now they give up a 2 right here.
Whoa.
Maybe a 3.
Easy, easy.
Nelson, great defensive play, showing why he's the defensive player of the year in this conference. And then the run down and a chance to make it a 3-point play.
So Miller gets his shot block 3 times in a row, and then just a high school hairy pass, and you cannot throw him against Duke. Then he compounds the problem by the push at the end. So that's back-to-back-to-back mistakes by the freshman point guard Mo Miller, who up to this point has played a pretty solid ball game.
Yep. Played great yesterday in the win over Virginia, and right now not playing with that same maturity. Nelson will try to cap off the 3-point play. There might be a whistle and a foul on the rebound. There is, and it's on Thomas. That'll be his 2nd. Now Maurice Miller got himself in trouble with this, Jimmy.
Okay, now block me once, shame on you. Block me twice, shame on me. And Paul Hewitt's reaction is, oh my goodness, that's not how we need to try to get back in this ball game. The smallest guy on the floor taking a shot against the tall trees.
Jeremy Smith back in there, having been fouled, battling for the rebound. So with the foul trouble, he's back out, trying to pick up some points, and he kind of talked that free throw in. 3 out of 4 from the stripe for Jeremus. Might be playing his final 5 minutes and 38 seconds of basketball in his college career, which has been one of work ethic and getting better just about every game because of that hard work that he's put in. Captain of the team, and as Jimmy said earlier, the heart and soul of the group, and he's had to sit a good chunk of this game because of foul trouble.
Georgia Tech goes to their press, but Duke is not an easy club to press because all 5 guys on this floor right now can handle it, they can dribble it, they can pass it, and they can catch it.
5 Blue Devils in double figures. Causey with the hand check foul way out court against Shire. Let's check in with Janine.
Well, Brad, Jeremy Smith credits Coach Hewitt for taking the time to talk to him each and every day, as in his words, to try and settle him down. He says Coach will just call him and say, how can I help you? How can I make you better? And Smith told me, it's really making a difference in his ability to relax and kind of perfect his approach to the game. I'm sure he'd like to perfect it even more this evening, but he did say that Coach has helped him quite a bit these last several weeks and just settling his game down and seeing the whole thing a lot better.
Now, he opened our eyes when he told Jimmy and I that he was heavily recruited by Billy Donovan. He said, I wouldn't give up those 2 national championships at Florida for not having played with Paul Hewitt, for Paul Hewitt. So that's how much he thinks of his coach, and that's pretty high praise. You give up a couple of titles, that must mean you like the guy a lot. Well, the lead has gone back to 73-58 now. Time running out on Georgia Tech. Duke that much closer to advancing to the winner of the Clemson-Boston College game in our 2nd game tonight. And if they get through that one, would it be the matchup everybody always thinks is going to happen? North Carolina and Duke on Sunday. It's possible. North Carolina's still got to go through a semifinal game tomorrow. against Virginia Tech. Duke, if they hold on to this lead, still has to go through either Clemson or Boston College. And Clemson gave them a whale of a game, remember, down at Littlejohn. Overtime matchup. Marcus Nelson misses, and Morrow with the rebound. The outlet to Causey, and we're under 4 minutes. Here's Smith trying to put the brakes on. Might have gotten away with a little stutter step. Morrow, baseline jumper. Lawal goes up with authority and makes sure. So all 8 of Gotti Lawal's points have come in the second half. 6'8" freshman out of Norcross, Georgia. Norcross just won its 3rd straight Georgia State title, which hasn't happened in that state in about 23 or 4 years. So they're kind of building a little bit of a dynasty at Norcross High. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Bristol, presented by GoDaddy.com, is on ABC tomorrow. The Nationwide Series, Kyle Busch gunning for the points lead, and NASCAR gears up to go rubbing and racing at the world's fastest half mile, Bristol Motor Speedway. Coverage starts with NASCAR Countdown at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. What do they say? That thing is so tight, it's like trying to fly a plane in a barn.
Yeah, that's not
kind of
easy,
tight,
is it?
isn't it?
That's very tight.
That's kind of like the traffic in downtown Charlotte during the ACC tournament this week. Well, it looks like it's going to be Duke to advance to meet Clemson or Boston College. They've led by as many as 20. Georgia Tech cut it to 2 at one point in this half, but now they trail 73-60, and time running out on Georgia Tech's season. Duke getting ready to go to 27-4, and maybe toward a #1 seed if they can go through this whole tournament and beat North Carolina in the process. Whistle and a foul on Lewis Clinch brings us to a timeout. Right now, Duke with 3:39 left. Starting to think about tomorrow, maybe.
Hi, guys. What's going on?
Buzzword bingo.
Buzzword bingo?
These innovation meetings are killing us.
The hype, the jargon.
The buzzwords.
Every time you hear one, you mark your card.
In short, we are 100% committed to facilitating a culture of out-of-the-box, goal-oriented, value-added, disruptive Web 3.0.
Bingo.
Introducing Pizza Hut's new Pizza Mia Pizza, made with whole milk mozzarella and sauce made from vine-ripened tomatoes. Get 3 or more medium one-topping Pizza Mia pizzas for just $5 each every day. $5? $5 never tasted so good. Pizza Hut.
Yeah, a tree fell on my car. I'm covered, right?
Was it a ficus?
I don't know. Who cares?
Well, the low-rate plan you chose does not include tree-related incidents, except for the ficus.
You're joking, right?
No.
If you could save on car insurance without cutting your coverage, why wouldn't you? Call State Farm and see why it pays and shop the leader first. Get a quote and start saving today.
That's no ficus.
There's no looking back now. The time to let your resume speak for itself is here. Which teams will be granted a spot in the bracket?
That is a very tough first-round matchup.
Who will be left out in the cold?
They got a raw deal. This is the team that has the easiest way to get back to the Final Four.
65 schools have a chance to cut down the nets. Our team will prepare you to pick one champion. ESPN U Bracketology, presented by Staples. Sunday at 7 on ESPN, followed by Black Magic Part 1.
Scott Reese with the SportsCenter in-game update. Illinois has dispatched of the 2-seed Purdue in the Big Ten quarterfinal as Mike Davis gets loose underneath. Overtime win means the Illini get either Indiana or Minnesota, guys.
Wow, how about that? Minnesota and Indiana getting ready to square off in the Big Ten. Here it's Duke, the #2 seed, very close to advancing now. They're up by 13 with 3:39 remaining. Mike Krzyzewski, it would be win number 802, and ironically enough, that would tie him with Dean Smith for the most wins through 33 seasons. Guys that used to coach against each other. Coach Smith, of course, a longtime man at North Carolina, who's part of the legends this weekend, as if he wasn't a legend in this part of the country. for about the last 50 years, but he is going to be one of the legends inducted at the luncheon tomorrow morning here in town, along with Lefty Drizel and a lot of ex-players. So our congratulations to Lefty, Coach Smith, and the rest of the guys.
Well, he had high praise for Coach Smith, didn't he? When we were having that conversation with him, he said for Dean Smith to be that competitive that long, he said, I learned so much from that guy, the importance of just competing day in and day out. And Dean Smith did it for a long, long time.
He said you might be surprised at how good of friends Coach Smith and I are. Of course, all the great matchups between those two, and at times the steamy relationship on those sidelines, but that's just part of the intensity of Duke and North Carolina. Shire goes flying in, chance for a three-point play, and a foul on Georgia Tech.
And Duke's pressure has stayed constant in this ball game. Georgia Tech now on a scoring drought of over 6.5 minutes. And I like the call. Miller underneath the basket taking the charge. Good job by Shire to attack the rim. And he's a slender-built guy against Shire. Go back to how crafty he is, because he's not a jet. And he doesn't have strength, so he has to get to the rim off of smarts. Just has a high IQ mentality about how he plays.
16 points off the Duke bench for John. And now the lead goes to 16. So you can take Shire's points, and that's how much Duke is up on Georgia Tech right now. Georgia Tech fought like crazy to get back to a 2-point game. It was either 52-50 or 54-52 right there, and since that point it was Duke, and a lot of Duke. Peacock penetrates and scores. He's been a bright spot for Georgia Tech, and he'll be a good player in the future. Sophomore out of Miami. Missed first 5 games this year, had a stress fracture in his foot, a stress reaction, I guess they call it, which is the prelim to a stress fracture, so they kept him out of the ball games early in the season, but he's really come out here late in the year.
A good job by Paulus to utilize the back dribble, because the pressure started to come on him, and he just back dribbled about 2 dribbles and gave himself more space to make that down court pass. Very simple play, but not every guard on the college level understands it.
2 minutes to play, 7 seconds on the shot clock. Shire, the hook pass is stolen away by Miller. Ahead, DeAndre Bell from outside, rattle him. The jumper. Now it's Miller. He lets the traffic go by, and he buries a 3. And quick Georgia Tech timeouts as they get it back down to 11. A minute 46 remaining. Well, the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPN tomorrow night. It's going to be Georgetown taking on either Pittsburgh or Marquette in the championship game. So the 9th-ranked Hoyas against Pitt or Marquette tomorrow night on ESPN. Well, the Duke Blue Devils here with an 11-point lead, just 1:46 remaining in the ball game. DeMarcus Nelson, part of the All-ACC first team, well-deserved. Had to really fight through some injury problems to get to that level. Jack McClinton of Miami, great shooter. DeMarcus Nelson, 10th in scoring and steals. Sean Singletary, one of the top scorers in the country, 3-time first-team All-ACC performer. Tyrese Rice will see him in the nightcap tonight, number 2 in scoring. And Tyler Hansbrough, number 1 in scoring, number 1 in rebounds, and double-doubles. Unanimous selection for the 3rd straight year. There's the ACC award winners. Tyler Hansbrough, the Player of the Year. Kyle Singler, that we're seeing here with Duke, the Rookie of the Year. DeMarcus Nelson, the Defensive Player of the Year. And Seth Greenberger, we talked about earlier, his team advancing to play North Carolina. All that young talent, the Coach of the Year. And you know, Jimmy, you would go back to DeMarcus Nelson. 2 hours ago, we said, let's take a look at our star watch. You know, not flashy. He's got 15 points, 7 rebounds, and he's tied a career high in this game with 7 assists. That's what he does for Duke.
Yeah, one of the really underrated seniors in the college game right now is DeMarcus Nelson. And boy, he has embraced the role as a captain and all that entails for Duke, especially when you're the only captain like he is right now.
And the only senior on the team.
Yep. It's something that you are 24 hours a day. If you're the captain of Duke or North Carolina, UCLA, all those great programs.
Just like at home, my wife's the captain. 25 hours a day
with you.
Can't even rest.
And sometimes she needs 26 to stay on top of you.
Here's Nelson on the drive, and he lays it in to add to his point total. 17 points. Game high for DeMarcus Nelson. Anthony Morrow, he was our Star Watch guy for Georgia Tech. He just got in double figures, but his career is closing quickly, as is Jeremy Smith's. And two young guys who were part of Georgia Tech's run to the national title game before they lost 4 years ago. And now they know they're down to 68 seconds of still playing in the old gold uniforms.
Boy, and that's a guy that it will really hurt when he takes off that jersey for the last time. Talking about Jeremy Smith, because he has poured himself into this program on and off the floor and has done everything that you ask of a guy. And when he walks in the locker room for what will be the last time, unless there's a miracle that happens here in the Queen City, it will really hurt for him to take that jersey off. I would imagine he would sit in that locker room, Brad, for a long time, and the last thing he does is take that jersey off.
Matt Causey, Mike Krzyzewski mentioned Matt too, and then he said to us, of course, Matt hasn't been there as long as Anthony and Jeremus. He hasn't put the 4 years because Matt was a transfer who started at Georgetown. They went to North Georgia, sat out last year, and became an integral part of this Georgia Tech team this season. But their season is just about set to come to an end. They played brilliantly last night against Virginia. They dug themselves a huge hole tonight against the #7 team in the country, and they just were not quite able to dig out of it. They got close. They clawed, I'll tell you, to get to 2 at 52-50, but then Duke took over. We're down to the final minute.
Duke about to get their 27th win of the season. I asked Coach K before the ball game, I said, you know what, I did your first game this year. And after that game, if I would have told you you're going to have 26 wins when you enter the ACC tournament, would you have taken it? He said, absolutely. The year they had last year, getting knocked out in the first round, it was not the Duke team at all. And the toughness has improved. I think their addition by subtraction, when Josh McRoberts went to the NBA, and they were replaced in that position by Kyle Singler, they became a better team, a more cohesive unit, a tougher unit with the addition of Kyle Singler.
I remember that before that New Mexico State game. We're in the coach's locker room and coach's office, and he said, you know what, I've learned some new things, and I'm reinvigorated by the fact that I'm the Olympic coach, because I got some new stuff, some of my assistant coaches, some other things I've learned from the Phoenix Suns and their approach to offense. So here's a guy that's been around and done it as well as anybody's ever done it for 27 previous years, and in the 28th year, he says, you know what, I can get better at this. I can do something different. How's that for adjusting on the fly?
You know what? He coaches himself just like he coaches his kids. He expects no more from himself than he does from his players, and that's the daily challenge. Continue to get better every day. He holds himself more accountable than he ever holds any of his players.
6th all-time in victories. This will be number 802. And as I mentioned earlier, it will match Dean Smith for over a 33-year career for that many victories in the first 33 years. Meanwhile, Boston College trying to loosen up, getting ready to take the floor for their warm-ups as they get ready for the Clemson Tigers in our final quarterfinal game about 25 minutes after this one's over.
Question in that ball game for Boston College, will Tyrese Rice tonight, will he be fried rice, chicken fried rice, combo fried rice? This guy right here. Because when
he's
we
a
had
bucket
him,
full no matter what, isn't he?
When we had him 2 weeks ago against North Carolina, he was the combo ultimate fried rice. 46 points, right?
Yeah.
He laid on North Carolina.
Exactly. He wasn't using chopsticks either. He was putting it down with big, like, tablespoons. Here's Peacock on the outside. Jeremy Smith going to run it out, try to get out to a three-point shot. Morrow. That might be his last basket for Georgia Tech right there on the stick back. 35-second shot clock, 37 in the game. Georgia Tech trying to scramble and just see what they can come up with here, trailing by 10. So Duke will take on the Clemson Boston College winner, barring a Georgia Tech miracle in the next 35 seconds. They defeated Clemson, and I mentioned it earlier. It was a great game. And against Boston College, a 10-point game where Singler was strong with a double-double of 24 and 10. DeAndre Bell picks up the foul. Shire's going to go to the free throw line. So there's Boston College. An upset last night. I guess you have to look at it that way, as a lower-seeded team anyway, as they took care of Maryland. BC had a tough year. They come in. They have lost, 12 of their last 14. Clemson, meanwhile, had a great season. I think they're a team that has already solidified their mark as playing when this tournament is over, but can always add to your seeding by what you might do the rest of the way. Clemson will be favored over Tyrese Rice. He doesn't have the iPod in tonight. He's just doing this all on his own now.
Last time we saw him dancing prior to a game, he went for 46. So if you're Clemson, you might right now make sure that your ankles are taped and all your equipment's on, because he has the look that we saw 2 weeks ago that I'm going to go for 40.
Yeah. Shire leaves with 18 points off the Duke bench. Miller missing a 3. Scramble for the loose ball, and it's going to be out of bounds to Duke. 23 seconds left. Duke by 12. And Georgia Tech still showing pressure here. Shire and Nelson between them, pretty impressive. 2 leading scorers. And Jeremy Smith and Anthony Morrow coming out so their fans can give them a standing ovation behind the bench. Their Georgia Tech careers come to a close tonight in Charlotte. 2 tough kids who got better and better just about every year in every game. One a great outside shooter, and one the muscle inside. And their careers come to a close here at Bobcat Arena.
Coach K will have words of encouragement for both those guys, because again, in the locker room before the game, I said, what concerns you the most about Georgia Tech? He said, I have great admiration for Jeremy Smith and Anthony Morrow and how they have continued to help this team fight through a difficult season.
Well, his senior was pretty impressive. DeMarcus Nelson, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Shire led the way with 18. And it's Duke advancing. He says something to Matt Causey, one of those seniors. And I'm sure, as Jimmy said, Jeremy Smith and Anthony Morrow will likewise get the handshake from Coach K. 82-70 the final.
Right there.
There it is.
There's
exactly.
One.
Yep.
He'll find Jeremy
The other one's
Smith.
already out on the court. There he is.
The other one. You knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming. 82-70. That means Duke will play tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 against either the Clemson Tigers, the number 2 seed, if seeds follow course, or it would be Boston College, the upset winner over the Clemson Tigers. That's our nightcap coming up next on ESPN2. North Carolina, the number 1 seed, Duke, the number 2 seed. Virginia Tech's there. Can Clemson make it a clean sweep of 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the semifinals tomorrow? We're about to find out. Let's check in with Janine.
Well, Brad, I'm with assistant coach Chris Collins once again. And Chris, you told us at halftime you had to guard against becoming complacent versus this Georgia Tech team. When they climbed back to within 2 points, what were you thinking?
Well, we knew we had to dig deep. We stopped playing defense for a while, and we told our guys they don't quit. They're very well coached. They have a lot of heart. They played for 40 minutes, which we knew they would, and we had to dig down and get stops. And our DeMarcus Nelson did a great job in the second half.
He certainly did. He contributed in so many ways. He told me he takes pride in setting the tone for the rest of the team. What was the tone he set tonight?
Well, he's our rock. He's like our big brother out there. He's our only senior, and we're going to go as far as he can lead us.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it's Duke advancing, the number 2 seed over the number 7 seed. 82-70 is the final. Coming up next on ESPN2, it's College Game Night Update presented by Liberty Mutual. Then we'll be back here in about 20 minutes for Clemson and Boston College, so don't go too far. For Jimmy Dykes, Janine Edwards, and our entire crew, I'm Brad Nessler. We'll be back, so don't go too far away. We've got more action coming up from Charlotte, but right now, College Game Night is at hand. Duke wins it by a dozen over Georgia Tech.